Come in. The show's about to begin. Tonight we have all the way from Southern California, we have Michael C. Stone. He's an amazing drummer person from California. Guys, we're gonna have fun. Michael C. Stone here on YenYorkCity Live. Get hyped for Mike. Wanna see those emotes? What's up, everyone? Welcome in. We are here live in New York City with my co-host Luna Satori. And guess what, guys? This is the week that Mr. Jersey Boy is gonna be officially moving to New York City. So it's hype, guys. This is the last time we won't be doing the podcast remotely from two different states. So I'm pretty hyped about it because, I'm sorry we're late. We're trying out Zoom today. I don't know if it sounds better, it looks better, but we're trying it out because, there's going to be a lot of new content and new streams. And I think this is the better option. I'm hoping, like for sound and quality. We had to restart though, so I'm sorry about that. But I wanted it to sound just right. I see you guys coming in. Debbie, what's up, honey? Thanks for coming in. Cookie, did you change your name again?
Cookie TV?
Okay, we were just talking about this because Michael Stone Drums was his former name, and now he changed it to Michael C. Stone without the drums. And our friend here, Cookie, he's an opera singer. Gorgeous. We were just talking about him right before the stream. And he changed his voice from Cookie. You could see his name over there on that side. He changed his name. He was Cookie Whispers. And then I was like, you need to put like singing Cookie or something because nobody knew that he was the singer. And we had this debate with the drummers, how there's a lot of drummers with drums, right, in their name. Well, Luna, you don't have drums in your name. Do you think it works out not having drums, or you think it's better to have what you do as a streamer in your name? How do you feel about that?
Depends on how you brand yourself. Like, you don't have to, if you put drums in your name, people are going to be like, oh, he drums, right? But then if you don't, people are not going to know exactly what you do. But if you brand yourself, and the name really wouldn't matter at that point, it's just, I think it's like almost as bad as putting TTV in your name when you're playing games, so that people can follow you because you're a Twitch streamer, right.
Well, now he can't go back for like months until he gets his old name, if he decides to
6 months
to keep this name. But yeah, so I think for branding purposes, it's really good to stay strong with what you want your name to be, whether it's singing, drums, guitarist, strings, whatever it is.
I mean, it helps.
I think it does.
Drums, people. Hey, you play drums. Cool.
Yeah. So I hope you guys had a nice weekend, and I gotta say, I hope all the moms out there had a beautiful Mother's Day. It was for me. I gotta say, it was I had a nice Mother's Day. Thank you, Luna, because you made it a lot nicer.
Oh, we did a lot for Mother's Day.
We did a lot. And you guys know that I lost my mom early this year in January, so it was really a hard one for me. It was very hard this year. And at the end of January, 'cause she passed away, I said I'm going to start playing guitar again. And I ordered a guitar. And I don't know if I should. I'm not gonna badmouth Sweetwater, but they had me waiting and waiting for this Ibanez that I ordered. And I kept saying, "Oh, it's 2 weeks, guys. In 2 weeks, I'm gonna be doing Rocksmith." And guess what? They said, "Oh, I'm sorry to inform you, but it's gonna be another month because, with the whole quarantine thing, productions," which I was totally like, fine. I understand. It's worth the wait. Come to this week. I had to say no, I'd rather just go to the store, and I want a refund. Okay, I'm sorry. I had faith in you for months and months and months. But you know what? It was meant to be. I got it for Mother's Day. We got the guitar. And yeah, you're going to see your girl rocking the guitar again. And also, I'm going to have the E-Kid here. So who knows? Maybe I'll take up drums again like I did as a teen and start another adventure. But I got to tell you about an awesome drummer we're going to have tonight. He's got a lot of stories. We were trying not to talk about so many things behind the scenes, but I'll tell you something. He's worked with some big names, and he's done a lot of professional recording. He's done tours. He's amazing. So Michael C. Stone now, he's going to be having an awesome chat tonight. We're going to have fun. He does a lot of looping with drums, which I think is super cool. Because it's like having my dream DJ, because it's not a machine, it's not a drum machine, it's an actual drummer looping. How awesome is that? That's like my dream right there, So yeah, they're usually really good.
Yeah, they're good. It's just the manufacturers that they were taking their sweet ass time to send their products over,
I didn't. Yeah.
And, it's COVID. People are having trouble getting the factories to run as much, and it happens.
And that's why I waited until May, because I was like, I'm gonna, I'll give it to them next month, February, March, April. I don't know, but I did hear, and this is beautiful. I think this is awesome, that it was the year that more people started picking up instruments or hobbies, or they got pets because of the quarantine. So it's pros and cons. So of course there's gonna be a shortage, but I mean it's kind of a positive thing. It is a positive thing, right? So anyways, yeah. So I hope you guys enjoy tonight. We're gonna have a very cool conversation with Mike, and we're just gonna go with the flow and see how you guys are in chat. Let's see who else is here. Dabs and drums, welcome in. Meow, Ball Music, thanks for being here. Debbie, of course, Cookie, and everyone here that's been on the show is here on the wall, the YenYorkCity Wall of Fame. And yeah, I can't wait until Luna comes this week and he starts setting up here in New York City, because it's gonna be really special. We're gonna have a lot of different shows. Are you hyped? Are you hyped to finally be a New Yorker?
I just want to get this move out of the way, because I'm tired of all this taking down stuff. I just want to get everything set up and just relax.
Yeah, and I mean, yesterday he had to drive 3 hours back, so it's not ideal. So I'm finally very, very excited that everyth's gonna come together finally. So this is gonna be the last time he's gonna be in Jersey and I'm gonna be in New York City doing it like this. So yeah, he's from Jersey, I'm from NYC, Jersey, eh? Yeah. So you know he's.
I'm moving to New York, so.
Yes. So that's gonna be cool. So guys, without further ado, I want to bring out our special guest.
Man of the hour.
He's amazing, and he's gonna be showing you all the awesome things that he does. He's from Southern California, Michael C. Stone. Are you ready for me, Michael? Are you ready?
Let's do this.
All right, let's do it, guys. Here on YenYorkCity Live. There he goes. Yes, Michael.
That's one of my favorite bands of all time.
That was incredible. Oh my god. I wanted to stand up so bad and like really dance and go crazy.
That's Secret Chiefs 3, and the song is Observance of the Word Vajra. I don't know what that means, but it's that's an incredible band that I've seen like 8 times, and every time it just gets more exciting and different. But yeah,
it sounds very intricate.
I love that.
I love playing that song, and they kind of introduced me to the whole kind of Middle Eastern spectrum of I mean, that's a very that's probably a very ignorant way to present it, because Middle East, that covers a whole area,
Yeah.
a very large area. So, but those kinds of rhythms and that kind of instrumentation was just super exciting for me, um, you know, coming from starting in like blues and rock and even country, stuff like that just blew my mind, when I first heard it, and I just had to start learning some of that stuff.
Oh,
So
that's
yeah,
beautiful. I love that.
super exciting.
Oh my God, Michael Stone. Hey, Rumple, what's up?
Yeah, Rumpel.
Your
Nice.
guy, your guy's here. I know Rumple. He does
He's so
sitar.
fun. There we go.
Sitar. Yeah, I met him.
Yeah,
I met him through Michael.
he's a fun stream, super chill, and just like I could listen to him playing that thing like just for hours. Is that's another like fascinating thing to me. Like a friend of mine gave me a set of tabla drums, which got me down. Well, there's a lot of like sitar sounds and tabla drums and that sort of thing in some of Secret Chiefs 3 music, and that kind of got me going down that route. And somebody gave me a set of tabla drums, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I've been drumming for a little over 35 years. I figured I should be able to just jump right in on this. No way. That's a whole different language, man. When you see people that are just really adept on tabla, that's an entirely different discipline and really just wild.
Yeah, it's the intricacies and timing on a lot of those parts are out there too.
Yeah.
And it's hard to like if you're not familiar with it, it's really hard to kind of like pick up the patterns.
It's completely alien to me from again, from coming from a blues and rock and country background, and then later metal. It's a completely different approach to music and to rhythm, and I just it's fascinating to me. It's like magic. It's when you don't understand a language, it either sounds like gibberish or magic, and that sounds like magical gibberish when people are playing tabla and really just
more like more complex than like a lot of progressive rock music out there.
Yeah.
Pretty great.
Definitely.
Yeah, I love anything that's like totally out there with the mixing of the sounds and the cultures, and like I've been really getting into jazz fusion. As you know, like we had a few jazz fusion artists, and Geopan was one of them. And I just
she's
see that.
amazing.
Oh yes, I mean, just it's so complex, and at the same time, it's the technique too. And I just love anything that has a blend of that, because it's like almost creating a new genre, and it's fresh. And like you said, it could be very magical because you don't expect it. So it's just like, ooh, wait a second, what's that? I like the sound of that, So I love that. And that whole flavor that song had was really like, you can't not move when you hear songs like that.
Yeah. That's a band that if you ever get the chance to see them live, I implore you to go see them, because it's a different experience every time, and they can make such wildly different mixes of musical styles. I mean, some of their stuff sounds like electronica dance music, and some of their stuff sounds like, they had I believe they had the drummer from Cephalic Carnage do some stuff on one of their albums. So full on like grindcore death metal, and then turn around and do stuff that is like spaghetti western movie music, and just really wild. Now, a little background on them is because the main person of that band is Trey Spruance from Mr. Bungle, which is again one of my favorite bands, and that's how I discovered them. But he's just like a musical mastermind, just pulling from so many different cultures and styles, and always he's a fascinating person, really. But he's like the main driving force for Secret Chiefs 3, and they had 3 of the members of Mr. Bungle. That was like their little side project, and hence the 3. But yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Michael, you said 35 years. You look 35 now. What do you mean 35?
I just turned 49 actually. Yeah.
Get out of here!
Look at that beautiful man.
Get
49 years old. Get it? Look Look at you looking all young.
Well,
I mean, that's still
doing-
young. I think that's still young, okay? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's still very, and I can't believe that. Wow, you look beautiful. I mean, I know
thank
when
you.
people say, like, oh, you know, the age and stuff like that. Oh, you're, you know, when you get older and stuff. No, but you're like, you look so kept and, like, young.
Yeah.
What's your secret?
What's your
Music.
secret?
Music.
Having this outlet, I swear, if I didn't have this outlet, I would have aged 20 more years by now. I mean, to be able to express myself emotionally and you know, bring joy to other people. Like I've been saying this a lot the last few years, especially because I got into a dance band that, you know, I'm really not into dance music. Like I'm not going to search out dance music to listen to it. I wouldn't go see a dance band. And I got the opportunity to join one and was like a little apprehensive about it and thinking, I don't know if I want to do disco. And
Disco?
I don't know if I, you know, yeah, we do a lot of
Is
disco.
it coming
and,
back? Do you think it's gonna come back? I'll rock the
well, you
bell
know, everything's
bottoms.
cyclical. It's fun. I got to
Yeah.
tell you, you know, disco, it seems like everything, if you're not paying attention as a drummer, it seems like all disco is the same beat, but it's not. I mean, it has the same fundamentals, but there's signatures for every different song, little signatures that if you don't follow them, then it just sounds like you're using the same beat for every song. So it really, there is still a lot of expression. And I've found this with many types of music is if you're not really paying attention, things can sound the same. And people say the same thing about metal. Oh, it all sounds the same. No, it does not.
No.
If you listen closely, like, no, there are wild differences and very, very specific things going on. Well, same thing with disco, but anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. I mean, I've been saying this for the last few years, especially since getting into the dance band. When I started drumming, of course, there was you know, there's always going to be an element of ego involved in this. Everybody wants people to tell them that, wow, you're amazing, or wow, you sound great, or I wish I could do that. That's so amazing that you're that talented. And it's like that's definitely a factor in why we play and do things that put us on stage. But ultimately, what brings me the most joy is seeing people losing their inhibitions and losing their cares for like an hour or so, or, you know, 3 or 4 hours if you're doing one of those gigs, where you just get to bring people joy doing the thing that you already enjoy. That's like bigger than anything for me.
You're basically speaking to them without actually speaking to them.
And you're finding a commonality with a wide variety of people. So, you know, you could be from all different walks of life, and everybody's having a common moment, and that's magic right there, you know.
Yeah.
And that's having that as an outlet, having that kind of thing, this kind of thing to keep me active too. They just really, I think that helps keep me kind of looking young. I mean, I see myself every day. I think I'm looking old, but you know.
And you have so much hair. It's true. Some Mika was like, "Wow," and he has so much hair. Yes, because I mean, there's young guys in their 20s that they're really young. I start seeing them. You know, like, you're blessed. I mean, it's partial genes.
I'm graying over here.
My dad was balding significantly in his 20s, like, and here I am, like, both my grandparents, both my granddads had full head of hair when they passed, and you know.
So you inherit that.
Good genes.
That's luck.
Good genes.
I guess so. I'm starting to gray too. I'm getting some in the beard, and I've noticed that especially since the pandemic started. I think I've gotten a little bit of stress from losing all the gigs, you know.
Yeah, I like the salt and pepper. Like, I tell Luna, I'm like, don't do anything, just rock it like the way it is, because I like it. It looks nice. But
yeah, look at Thomas Hawk from Meshuggah. I mean, he's let it all go. And he looks fine. And then
natural highlights.
Yeah. And then you
nice.
see some people, it looks like they've run shoe polish through their hair.
No,
Yeah.
See, guys, don't do that. I'm gonna tell you right now, us women, I mean, most women, we could tell, right? And then also, I think it's very sexy to have like salt and pepper in your hair. It looks like, you know, you guys have experience, you know what you're doing, and believe me, it's not cute when you see like somebody sweating, and then who was it, the one that had the sweat with the, And it looked
Rudy
like,
Giuliani.
yes, New Yorker right there. I'm sorry. It's shameful. But no.
Oh, man.
40's like, I'm dyeing it bright purple. Are you gonna do the goatee?
Purple.
The
Well, that
goatee
would be fun though.
like Portnoy, he has the goatee. So, well, he doesn't do it anymore, right? The blue goatee.
I think he might. I don't know. No, I think he kept the gray out. He's all gray now.
Okay. Dimebag did. Yeah, he did. He had it
Yeah,
red too, right? Red.
yeah. There's a band. I wish I would have seen them more. I only got to see Pantera one time.
Yeah,
Mm.
same.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's a lot of bands.
Huge influence.
Well,
Pantera is a huge influence for you.
Yeah.
really.
Nice.
Yeah. That was one of those bands that it was like, when I was exposed to it, I was like, holy crap, these guys are heavy,
Yeah.
and everything just had such powerful punch to it, and it was just relentless, I loved them for years, and I still, I go back and listen to it sometimes, and I think I tried when I first started streaming back in August, that I did a few just requests, and people were lobbing stuff at me that I don't think I'd tried in like 20 years, and some of it was like Pantera, and I was like, holy crap. I remembered most of the parts, but I could not keep up with that guy. It's like I think I could do it if I studied it and worked on it, but it was impressive.
Wow. So
Player.
when did you start playing the drums? And you said 35 years of experience. So when did you pick up your first drums? And what kind of drums did you start off with?
Well, I first got interested in drums. I mean, I always loved music as far back as I can remember, but I never really understood anything about drums until one day my sister, Bad Zoot, she's in the chat, she got Exit Stage Left from Rush, and she played me the YYZ off of that with the drum solo, and I was just bewildered. I just knew at that moment. I was like, I had no idea. I didn't know what a kick drum was or what a snare drum was, or I had no idea how he was making all that sound, but I knew that's what I wanted to do. Like that was like the moment that I was like, I want to do that. And it was still several years before I got my hands on like my first. I got a little electronic drum pad that I think it was Yamaha, but it might have been like a Sears brand or something. I bought it for like $20 off the neighbor kid, and that was probably more money than it was worth then.
Oh wow!
But I bought it from him and had one pair of drumsticks, and it just had 4 pads on it, and it had a button sequencer on the bottom, and you could plug it into your stereo and either play the pads or sequence drum beats. And I ended up getting together with a friend in school, and he had a harmony guitar that he got from Sears. Thing was horrible. It was like always going out of tune, and it would feedback as soon as you turned it on. It was like whop whop. So anytime you weren't playing it, you had to immediately turn it down and then turn it back up to play. And so I have cassette tapes of us playing, and it's just riddled with this whop whop whop. And I think the first song we learned how to play together was Hell's Bells from AC/DC.
Oh,
and just on that little pad, and I got my first drum set that same summer. I think I started that winter. I was like 12, I think.
Wow.
And I got my first drum set was a Royce drum set, which I've never seen another Royce
I remember
drum
those.
set in person. I've seen pictures, but it was probably a combination of me not knowing how to tune and it also being a low quality drum set. But the thing, sounded like crap in hindsight. But it was my first drum set, and I remember the first day that I had it, just thinking I was amazing on it. I just got in there and I'm flopping around on this little drum set. It had hi-hats and one cymbal. I think they were Krut. Was it KRUT? Where was the brand of the cymbals? And I'm just making noise like mad. And my sister came over, and I was so excited to show her the drum set, and I was like, here, watch this. And I sat down and just made a bunch of random flopping around the kit, and she looked at me with a smile on her face, and she's like, "Wow, that's awesome. When are you gonna learn how to play them?"
Wow.
So
Wow.
she gave me my first reality check, my first ego reality check right there, which was super valuable. I've told her that story again, and she's like, and every time I've told her that, she's like, "I don't remember you. I wouldn't have said that." I'm like, "No, you absolutely did say that. I remember it clear as day." But it was the best thing, you know. That's you gotta keep those kids in check with their egos, because we just
Keep our
think we're
brothers
amazing.
grounded, you know,
Yeah,
ground
yeah,
them. But at the
Like,
same time, we
yeah,
encourage
you
them.
tried. You tried.
yeah.
Isn't
And
that something?
so
You always
yeah, that was
remember those things. You remember like the little criticism and the things. But then when you have those moments where they say something really nice and you're like, yes, because you know they're not gonna lie to you. They're
yeah.
gonna tell you straight. So when your sister or your brother give you a compliment, it touches you differently. Like you're like, oh yeah, like so that I did good, do really good, you know. So
At least you have someone that is gonna be forward like that. Because then there's those that, like, family members are like, oh yeah, that's really good, and then it's not really
Yeah.
that good. You know, they
no,
just want
let
to
you
make you
go
Yeah.
feel
out
good.
there.
Yeah. We see a lot of that too.
Yeah,
I had
so it's good.
my mom gave me another my first like gigging lesson was we did my very first actual, you know, like professional gig was like 2 years after I got my first drum set, and we were playing for the Jerry Lewis Telethon in a mall parking lot in Casper, Wyoming, because that's where I grew up, out in the middle of nowhere. So I was playing there, and I was in this band that was run by this guy named Joe Foster, and he ran one of two music stores in the whole town, and he started a cover band and asked me if I wanted to drum for him, and I had to learn like 300 songs with them, and
Geez,
it was
300.
spread out. But we learned like 3 sets for this gig, and I was just screwing up left and right because it was my first show. I was super excited. A bunch of my friends were in the audience, and I was just giddy, and yeah,
The
Casper.
adrenaline kicked in.
Yeah, my adrenaline was I used to have like zero control over my adrenaline, and I was just messing up, and every time I'd mess up, I'd be like, ah, damn it, you know, I'd be shaking my head and doing the, oh man,
You
oh,
just
I
you
really,
just show it off that you actually messed up instead of playing
yeah,
through
yeah. And
it.
after the first break, I you know, walk off stage, and my mom's like, honey, stop telling everybody that you messed up. just pretend nothing happened. And I'm like, oh,
You
I
scream
guess,
over
yeah.
the song. I'm sorry. That was me.
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, when you're live, most people they won't notice unless they're drummers themselves or something, you know.
yeah.
You just play it off. And you're just like, yeah, and you just fill it in with something else, you know. So
Yeah, and then people think you meant to do whatever you did.
yeah.
The old joke: if you screw up once, you know, just do it again, and you've officially achieved jazz.
Oh my god, that's awesome. Wow.
Did you take any lessons?
No, I was super stubborn, and I really, you know, I really wish I hadn't been so stubborn. I didn't take my first lesson until I'd already been playing for about 20 years, and I was just, I thought, no, I'm doing this my way. You know, it's going to be my sound. There's that ego again, you know. So I really wanted to develop my own style, and wanted to be, you know, I'm going to have my signature, you know. And it's like, hey, you know, you can learn the language and still have your own style, you know. So I really wish I would have taken lessons earlier, but I have to say my first lesson was with Marco Miniman. So that's, you know, that was pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
Oh my
What-
god.
That is
living in Oceanside, California, and I found out through MySpace that he was living in Imperial Beach. Imperial Beach. So I sent him a message and said, "Hey, are you doing lessons?" And he was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And
Oh my god.
quoted me a price, and I went down
He
and
answered you.
That's like a dream. Imagine.
I got my first lesson from him, and that was after, you know, watching videos of him just do this amazing stuff, and I'm like, holy crap, you know, none of that is.
The
know, I'll never be able to
interdependency
do it.
video.
Oh man, he's incredible.
Yeah,
He's just absolutely incredible.
I got to
Now-
meet him. He's such a good guy too.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
So his first lesson was with
You're like, yeah.
He let me film the whole freaking the whole thing, you know. So I got to set up my camera so I could, you know, just he gave me a ton of practices, you know, just all this stuff. He's like, here, I'm gonna, you know, since you brought your camera, let's give you a lot of lessons here, you know. So he just
Oh
ran
my
through like
God,
all
that's
these different techniques.
amazing.
I got to sit down on his kit, and it was just beautiful. It was in a storage unit it was like a public storage unit, and he just had it in there, and this beautiful DW kit with great big gong bass, and you know, just incredible.
So wait, he has a studio like practice set up in the storage unit.
He did, yeah, at the time. Now I think he only lives just a few miles north of me now, and he tracks most of his stuff in his house. In fact,
in his kitchen, I think, or in his living room.
Yeah.
From the videos, he has his kitchen right next to him.
Yep. Indeed.
What a guy. He's like, hey,
Yeah.
let's give you some stuff so you can practice at home.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. That makes me like him even more.
Yeah.
Just knowing
And
that.
He's a very quirky dude.
Yeah. Oh, very.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like quirky.
And I'm now here's years later. You know, this is one of the things that I'm probably most proud of, as you know, in my drumming history, is I ended up getting to be on an album with Marco Miniman and Morgan Ogren and Thomas Lang and Virgil Donati and Dave Elich and Dweezil Zappa and Mike Keneally and Travis Orban, who's incredible.
Legends?
Yeah, just incredible. So my friend Carl King is this amazing composer. Like he's just ridiculously good. It's like it's like he can compose in his sleep. You know, he's like the polar opposite of me in that thing. I have to work and work and work to come up with a simple song structure, and he's just like, here's an orchestra. You know. And he was doing an album after several years of not doing any music because he had had a really bad car accident, and it had given him PTSD. So he was like avoiding doing anything that involved noise, and he's a big time drumming fan, hence having so many drummers on the album. And we became friends around the same time that I got that first lesson from Marco Miniman, but it was a completely separate thing. And we just kind of hit it off over the years. And when he decided to start doing music again, he started putting this album together with all these players. And at first he asked me if I wanted to be a part of it, and he wanted me doing some percussive bits on songs, and I was just excited about that, you know. Just I was like, yeah, absolutely, I want to be a part of this. And it turned out after a while he wrote a song that he was like, here, I want you to do the drums on this song, you know, do you think you can knock it out? And I just said yes. And I didn't even, you know, it was a difficult song. It's got like over 20 time signature changes, and the tempo's up and down. It's got all these really specific parts. And I had to rehearse that and work on it for 3 weeks straight to be able to nail it all the way through. But it was completely worth the work, because you know, here I am on this record with all these just legends that you know, first time I saw Marco Miniman or Virgil Donati or Thomas Lang or Morgan Ogren on YouTube, I was just like, oh my God, that's impossible. You know, there's no way. I'll never be like in the same paragraph as any of these guys. And now I'm on an album with them. It's like,
yeah, I know.
Just like, I'm still giddy over that.
You're getting your name stamped on there with the great.
So
Awesome.
Here's the funny part is he had the cover was painted with like everybody represented in these like kind of space like these kind of I don't know, all these characters like Virgil Donati's this kind of human wasp, and Thomas Lang is like a Terminator, and
of course.
Of course, yeah. So yeah, let me see.
Spoiler, Mike's a cat.
Yeah, yeah, I'm the cat. I am.
Oh, that's
you are
awesome.
a space cat.
Thomas Lang is holding me in his if we can.
Dude, that's awesome.
Oh my God, legend.
Yeah, so he drew me as a cat, and Thomas Lang is holding me in the picture. So that's pretty funny.
And you got that signed by all of them? most of them?
I'm in the process of getting it signed by everybody. I got it signed by Dweezil and Virgil, and we've got Mike Keneally up here, and I need to get. It's hard to get. I mean, none of this was done like at the same time. Everybody recorded in their home studios and sent Carl the tracks.
Yeah.
So that was another interesting thing, is tracking all of those in different places in order to make all the kits sound the same. He had to do note replacement with like all of the drummers in there. So you're listening to the real performances, but he's changed the sounds so it all sounds like the same drum set.
He like sampled like a certain kit over the layers.
He's an insane drum programmer, so he really knows what he's doing with that kind of thing. He can do stuff with a million mouse clicks and just make it sound like. There's one of his albums, he's got a drum battle between him and Marco Miniman, but of course all his drums are programmed and Marco's just in there just shredding, and they're like, it's you have to really listen hard to figure out which is the programmed drums and which is Marco, and it's really, really cool. I shared the link on the in the Discord for that Bandcamp page is the album that's on.
That's incredible.
And I'm on track 12, the 20-faced cosmic mystery of the cosmos, which is a reference to my Demiso logo, which you may have seen if you're ever watched the stream. I always have it in the upper corner over here.
Did that like intricate cube looking thing?
Yeah, it's a icosahedron, a 20-face. And it's all triangles all around.
Oh, yeah. So I try to, on your emote that I created for you, I try to put that in the backdrop as like a silhouette.
Oh, nice.
It's hard to see with the black, but on white, it looks pretty good.
So yeah, my track's right after Virgil's track, so no pressure whatsoever. Yeah.
Wow.
Virgil's track is actually my favorite track on the album.
We're skipping all of them and then putting yours on.
I'm going to be listening to that for sure.
He's definitely one of my favorite players.
Speaking of Virgil, I had an opportunity to play with David Weiner, who's the rhythm guitarist of Steve Vai.
Oh, wow.
And he does these clinics in Cherry Hill, New Jersey at Sam Ash. And I was invited to go sit in for one of his clinics because his drummer couldn't make it. And I knew him through a bass player friend of mine that plays with him, and so I was invited up, and we were going to do a project together, but he got really busy with like the tours and whatnot.
Yeah.
But the track his album that he's on, that he does, he had Virgil play, and then I was going to sit in for a few of his songs because he couldn't get Virgil to come out, and his drummer that he has playing couldn't play, but I got to actually play with someone that had Virgil on there. So I'm like, oh.
No pressure.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
So we still keep in touch here and there.
It really is about who you know in so many instances. I mean, you can work your ass off and practice like mad, but if you don't get yourself out there and network, it's really difficult to get yourself into situations where you can be offered those kinds of things. Or
stay in contact too.
Yeah. And not be a jerk.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that matters.
Yeah, it really does.
Matters.
You have to be easy to work with, otherwise people don't want to work with you. So.
And it spreads really quickly too.
Yes, it does.
It does. But Mike, that just means that you are just as amazing and cool as all of those guys. I mean, you were amongst them.
Well,
I mean,
I felt like I kept up. I performed at a level for that track that was worthy of being on the album, but I still see basically all those guys as like light years ahead of me on technique and just ability. They're really amazing. I've been to speaking again of lessons, a few years back, I went to 2 of Thomas Lang's Big Drum Bonanza camps, which is like just 5 days of just drilling, just going there and
you went to one?
Yeah, I went to 2 of them actually.
Oh, nice.
Man, that was like just a full-on kick in the ass that like got me going through that whole year, and both of those both years that I went, it was so inspiring and got me. I feel like I leveled up like several times in the years after that because of just all the things that they give you to work on, and just being immersed in that whole drumming atmosphere for 5 days straight. I mean, so I got to study with Thomas, and with Dave Elich, and with Gergo Borlai. Which, holy crap, have you ever seen him? Do you know who Gergo Borlai is?
No.
Oh my goodness, he's ridiculously good. He barely spoke English too. It's like he worked us on the pads the whole time. So everybody had their own pads set up, and we'd just sit and do exercises. Well, he worked us for 8 hours one day, just working on like single strokes and simultaneous strokes, and then he just kept turning up the metronome just a little bit more, and just all day long he just kept turning it up. And of course there were breaks, but by the end of the day, he had us up in the 200s, and everybody's just like, oh god, working. But he's incredible. He would he'd blow your mind if you see him play. He's one of the most impressive players I've seen. Scott Pilgrim, if you're not familiar with him, he's incredible. One of the most musical players I've ever seen. He really explores the palette of a single drum in so many ways, and he'll utilize just the most unorthodox techniques and just do things with drums that you're like, I never would have thought of that. There's no way. Damn it, Alice Cooper's drummer, who also played with Jennifer Batten, who was man, I'm having a total brain fart here.
Glenn Sobel.
Glenn Sobel, yeah. He was amazing, like just another great player. So, it's just basically you'd go to this drum camp and just get hit with amazing players one after another. And they all had, such varied perspectives and techniques and styles, and just, I can't recommend that highly enough.
Did you try to submit for those videos that he launches to play on top of, to get like the opportunity to win, to have access to it?
I didn't. The first year that I went, I actually went to help my friend Carl do some filming for the one that Virgil was playing at. So he spent the whole week filming for those things, and that was the last year that I think that was 2013, and that was the last year that he did the video submissions, and we asked him about that one of the years, why he wasn't doing that anymore, and he said we received like 10,000.
There's a lot.
It's just there's just not enough time to go through all these and pick pick a specific winner. So he stopped doing that and just had it on a, like, okay, if you can afford to come, then come. And the last year that I went, JD Beck was one of the kids at the whole week, and he was one of the students, but everybody could tell, it's like, that kid's going somewhere, and he was just this cute little guy, just slaying it. He wouldn't do anything with his left foot the whole week. Like he would just put it up on his throne and do everything, with the right foot and the hands, and he was already slaying with that. And it's really cool to see him, getting all these really cool gigs, and now he's touring all over, and he's in the Modern Drummer poll this year for fusion or jazz, I forget.
Ooh.
It might be
either
fusion.
way. Yeah, either way, it was like, it was really cool to see that. See some little kid.
I'm progressed up to that. Wow, I love seeing
I applied for like 2 of those. I made 2 video submissions, 2 or 3, and I think the last one, I forgot. I think the last one I was close to getting like top like 10 or top 15 when they were just narrowing it down, and I'm like, oh. I was like, no, I want to get in there.
Well, you're a great player, man. It's competitions like that are always like, I don't feel like, it's not really, music's not a competition for me,
Yeah.
And that could be easily construed as, well, that's because you lost. Well, okay, yeah, sure. That's part of it.
I mean, just show them that album cover where you're a cat with all those other awesome alien type of amazing people, and that's it. That's all you You already won,
Yeah.
basically, because I mean, to be
Oh,
amongst those names, that makes you just as awesome. So, you should
well,
definitely
thank you.
feel like that's a huge accomplishment and a huge goal in
Yeah.
itself. Just a
I
couple
was,
of those names, and you have a list in
And
that
even
album.
attending like
Yeah.
any like drum offs or contests and competitions, like I don't even see it as a contest or a
yeah,
competition. Like even though if it is, I just play, have fun, do what I can, and then I go to learn from like those other ones that are actually really good. That I
yeah.
feel that they could be better than me or is better than me, and then I'm like seeing new things. Like oh, I
Yeah,
gotta try that.
well, that's one of the things that I love about the drumming community on Twitch is just I'm constantly learning new stuff right now. Like I'm learning new styles. I'm learning of new bands that I didn't know about, or bands that I've heard about for years that just didn't give it a chance because it was like it was either it's just another name on a list for me to check out eventually, and then or it would sound like something that I wasn't interested in, like Hiatus Coyote. I was like, well, that's an interesting name, and then I didn't really think about it until I heard somebody playing along with someone. I'm like, holy crap, what is this? This is really awesome. And they're like, it's Hiatus. Like, oh, that's them. And just finding all this new music and seeing all these great players and seeing how everybody does their show differently. And I feel like every time I watch another streamer, I'm learning something. Whether it's just something for my own enjoyment or something that I can apply to my own thing, or whatever. I just love that about Twitch. and
Yeah.
Yeah.
and everybody here seems like they want to lift each other up. Like
Yeah.
you go to YouTube or Facebook and everybody's like trying to tear each other down, and oh, well, you're not doing that right, or do you need so many symbols? you know
Yeah. I mean, you're driving, you're going to pick up a different audience for YouTube because it's so open versus there being an actual community, where Twitch, there is a full on community and we all
yeah,
understand each other and what we're gaining, what we're trying to work
yeah.
on.
Like you
it's
said,
it,
everyone is different in their own way. So you see things that you're like, oh, well, I've never seen it. That's interesting. Or you learn different kinds of bands that you never knew you would like. So
yeah,
it's true.
yeah. It's I'm just enjoying all the aspects of it. It was a real good shot of positivity after a year of just struggling with no gigs. I mean, that's what got me started in this. I was just like in a holding pattern and battling depression because I went from doing like 3 to 5 gigs a week with multiple different bands to nothing, and working from home and just like never leaving and not having any shows and can't go to see any shows. And it just like everything just it pulled the brakes on everything, and I was really having a rough time. And again, Carl's been an extremely positive influence in my life. Not only did he put me on that album, he was the one that kind of nudged me into doing the dance band, which has been another just shot of positivity and fun, and has improved my playing in ways that I never would have thought. And he was the one that eventually was like got me to stop worrying about the status of my equipment keeping me from being able to stream, because I was like, I had good sound equipment, I had good mics, I had a decent board, but I had these cameras, but I didn't have a way to hook them into my computer. So really I could do it with my phone, or I could do it with the laptop camera. And I was thinking, no, that's just that's not good. And I'm thinking I wanted to have stuff polished and ready for presentation, and have songs done and all that before I started doing it. And then I started watching other drummers that I respect and really admire, who would just practice stuff on a live stream. They're not even playing a song, they're just working on some riff idea or something, or just blowing steam, and the sound is awful, and the video's awful, but people are chiming in and following along and going, wow, this is amazing, and this sounds great, and I was watching that and thinking, well, maybe it isn't too bad for me to do it. And then Carl again just said, just do it. Look at other people's streams. They're not, there's plenty of people that have crappy cameras and are still doing it. You've already got good sound, so you got that going for you. So just jump in and do it. And I started doing it, and it was again, one of the best things that I've done, I think, is to just jump in and go, okay, just let it fly, and get in there. And that's again why I do a lot of the looping, is because I'm just kind of letting it go and letting it take me wherever it wants to, and become, something that way without really giving much thought to it.
Mm. Yeah,
At
quality is great too. Like if you're trying to get the quality aspect, but it really comes down to consistency and the amount of time, quantity that you're going to be popping on for you to actually gain anything from. Because what's quality without quantity?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you actually got on and did it, and we got to see you.
Yeah, I'm stoked, and it's just really been so positive, and it's been affirming, or what's the word I'm looking for? It's an affirmation. It's like, yes, you are good enough.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Artists of any kind are so self-conscious, and we tend to focus on the negatives and go, well, I suck at this and I suck at that and I suck at this other thing. Well, why don't you just, embrace the things that you're good at and do those and make that your thing, and just enjoy it for what it is, and that's kind of the way that I've gone, instead of trying to fit everybody else or trying to compare myself to other players who I think are honestly, more accomplished or more capable than I am. I just see that as, it's apples and oranges. It's not the same thing. And if I spend all my time focusing on what I'm not good at, I mean, obviously you do need to focus a little bit on what you're not good at so that you can get better at it. But just really building on your strengths is the most important thing, I think.
Yeah, that's true. We are our hardest critic, and it's tough, because if you think of it like a competitive way, you're gonna quit because there's always gonna be someone that does it a little bit different, you think it's a better, but it's not really that. It's like everyone has their own preference too, so it's a selective type of thing for different genres and crowds. So what would you say is your genre of choice, or do you like to just like blend a lot of, because I see you do a lot of different streams with different types of genres?
I really like to mix it up. It's in thousands of years of people doing music, that I've really given up on the idea that I can come up with something on my own that's going to be completely new. So again, I mean, that comes down to learning other vocabularies and just adding those to your own vocabulary, or learning words and phrases and adding those to your vocabulary, and that's how you just become more adept and make your own style. So I'm really always hungry for new styles of music that I'm not familiar with. I'm hungry for new sounds, and I'm always looking for something new and different to me. Somebody else is already familiar with it, but I haven't heard it before, and that's I just want to learn and grab all those tools and bring them all into my little bag of tricks, so that I can come up with something that is a unique style. It's like, I mean, like chefs, or a chef is still dealing with all of the same flavors that every chef that came before them was using, but you keep experimenting and trying different combinations, and eventually you've got a signature dish. So it's kind of the same thing with music. We build on the shoulders of giants, like they say.
I mean, Elvis liked his peanut butter and banana with bacon sandwiches, and that was very unique, and that was basically his favorite sandwich. So
he died from a heart attack.
And he died of that because sometimes it's not. Yeah, he definitely didn't have.
At least he died happy eating what he loved.
But who would have thunk? I mean, that combination. So everybody likes what they like.
Yeah, it still kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Just that
peanut butter, bacon,
and peanut.
What was it?
Banana.
Yeah. Well, I don't like bananas, so.
Yeah, so that's definitely gonna turn you. And then mixed with, okay, let's not think about it. But yeah, I really like that when I watch you stream, you do your looping, and that's to me, that's it. You won me over right there, and then because of the fact that you don't really see that. I've always thought that that would be cool to see, and then I find Mike, and I'm like, oh, like, yes, that's what I'm saying. So when did you really start doing that, like the looping and the drums combined?
Well, I got the idea from I went to I work in the swimming pool industry in my day job, and they would send us to these conventions in Vegas like every year or so. And one year I was there, and there was at Mandalay Bay, they had a wine bar that had like 3 levels, and they had it set up so there were these 2 great big wine barrel looking things, and they each had a drum set on top, and then there was a DJ up top on the 3rd level. So the DJ would be playing all the way up top, and then 2 drummers would be playing on these wine barrels that are going up and down like that, and they would just get in there and riff. Like the DJ would just keep changing whatever was going on, and both these drummers would just play off of each other and play off of the DJ. And if somebody needed to take a break, there was still 2 guys going. So it was a relentless nonstop thing. And I'm looking at that going, okay, there's no way these guys are rehearsing this. This is just improv. I mean, they're just working off of loops and working off of each other and just basically playing, back and forth. And I was thinking, man, that's a gig. I would love to have a gig like this. So again, I didn't come up with the idea. I honestly, when I first started doing it, I thought I was being lazy because, I didn't actually write the loops. I'm just picking loops and kind of button mashing and going with it and having a great time, and, just able to play over the top of it. And so I kind of felt like I was being lazy, and the first few times that I did it, I felt like, I couldn't think of anything to do, so I'll resort to doing the loops. And I kept getting like really good feedback off of that. Like people saying, this is really cool. And people telling me that they were listening to it while they were doing other things and putting it on in the background and just letting it go. And I started to think, well, this is exactly what I was looking at, at that Mandalay Bay thing. It's just I'm doing it by myself here with an iPad and a drum set, and I no longer view that as being lazy. I view it as its own thing, and I'm really trying to develop it, and I think it's something that I could turn into a regular gig, in a live setting,
Yeah, that sounds great.
I love it.
I feel like it still needs some development before it gets to the point where I could just do that for like 3 or 4 hours straight on a show. But this is a great start, and this has been a great way to test it out, and kind of give it its legs.
Do we hear you do a little bit now?
Yes.
Sure.
And Alpine, thank you so much for that raid. Alpine, you're amazing. We love you here. Alpine is an awesome drummer here. He also makes like electronic drums, and he makes like cowbells and smooth bells, and he's very like smart, and he's like a scientist in like electronics and all that stuff. I say that he's
a maker of everything.
He's a maker of everything. Very talented. And thank you so much for coming in.
He's the one that built my smooth bell. He sent it over from Germany and had me play his custom cowbell, electronic cowbell that he made.
Really? I haven't even seen that. I gotta hit you up about that.
Yeah, I'll show you. And he crafted it himself, so maybe he'll get a little shop going and start creating some more for people.
I'm always hyping him up because he's super talented and skillful, and I just can't believe that he made that. And he does that also on stream. He makes them so you can see how he puts a lot of work, and like he's German stuff has a lot of like quality,
German engineering at its finest.
Yes. So you gotta watch Alpine and see how he
awesome.
does it. Yeah. So let's hear some looping, Mike. I want everyone to feel that magic that Michael gives.
The magic Mike.
I knew you were gonna go there, babe. Let's do it, Mike. Let's do it.
All right, here we go.
Hi, YenYorkCity Live.
That's fun.
Nuts.
Oh my God, Mike!
fun
I was like ready for more. I was like, is he ending or is it gonna be like an interlude to like
Yeah, like a
something
fade
fake?
out into something else.
And then all of a sudden,
Well, one of the things that's fun to do with those is you can get a couple of different devices going. Like I'll get the same thing, the same looper on the iPhone and the iPad at the same time, and as long as you get them, both at the same tempo and they're in the same key, you can, just kind of play off one and switch pads, because there's a bunch of pre-programmed sample banks in these, and you can kind of, really just work one for a while and then start working the other one in there while you're working the first one out and taking all those out. And as long as you keep them, you can theoretically just keep it going indefinitely if you just keep switching your loopers, or like I can be doing the launch pad and have IK oscillator on the other unit, and then switch switch whatever the bank is on the iPad, and it's actually, I mean, it's a pretty easy to manage control surface. Other than, I mean, I've got really kind of fat fingers, so it is kind of difficult sometimes to keep up with with some of these. If trying to hit a specific button and it's not, you can't really feel the buttons on the plain screen. So
you're hitting like multiple ones at the same time.
Yeah, I'll end up hitting not what I wanted to, but you just kind of have to roll with it.
Yeah. That's actually really cool. Can you give us a rundown of your setup? Like, what do you have going on with like your kit and cymbals and?
Well, for the home kit, for a while I've been using this Sonar kit that I got used, and it's one of their lower level kits. Actually, I've got my favorite drum set that I play with, that I bring to sessions or bring out to shows that I really want to have my best presentation, is a custom GMS kit that I got from Mark Zonder of Fate's Warning, which not a lot of people know about him, but he's one of those drummers that the first time I heard him play, he was taking over the drum chair for their previous drummer, and their previous album was like one of my favorites of all time. And well, actually the album before that one, but anyway, that's an unimportant detail. This guy comes in and I'm expecting more of the same of what the other guy was doing, but Mark Zonder came in and was doing all these precisely orchestrated parts that are just, I mean, so he plays with such precision and musicality, and he's just an incredible player, and just blew my mind. It was one of those instances where the first time I heard it, my brain was going, I didn't know you could do that. I had no idea that was even possible. So anyway, I got a custom drum set from him, and it's got cats on it, again with the cats. I'm a big cat person.
Oh my God, yeah, your kitties are gorgeous.
So, but this kit is a conglomeration of my original, my first gigging kit was a Pearl Export, and I eventually stripped the finish off of it and refinished it myself, and that's this floor tom over here, and I still have the kick drums over there, and the toms are stacked over there, but this Sonar kit I got for a nice price, and it sounds great. It's super loud, so I got it with the intention of using it for like dive bar gigs where I didn't want to bring the custom GMS kit, and like if somebody spilled a beer on it, it's like, well, but it turned out to be I love this kit. It's really nice. I wouldn't mind finding a second one so I could have matching kick drums. It's a Force 3001, which is one of their lower levels, but this thing, the edges are super straight and just nice and sharp, and I just love the way this kit sounds.
Nice kit. Giapan! Yeah, she plays a lot of Sonar.
Oh yeah, Giapan.
Yes.
Yeah. She's awesome. I'm stoked that you're here to watch. That's awesome. So we've got that. I've got right now what I'm using is this is my I've got two of these Ludwig Superphonics, the LM400s. I still don't have a 402. I would really like to have one, but one thing at a time. I've got 11 snare drums, so I really can't.
Collection.
But this one's like a 71, I've got another one that's a 67. It's back over there. But those are probably the ones that get the most work. I've got my first custom drum that I had made for me was Joseph Montanari, which he's made drums for just a laundry list of folks, like top level guys. It's an incredible snare drum. It's a 14x8 mahogany, and that thing, when you crank into it, you can feel it in your chest. I mean, it's
wow.
It's a beast.
What's the depth on it?
8 inches.
8.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
So I've got that. I'm using primarily Erland microphones, which is a Swedish company. They've you can hear, their microphones on Tool's last album. Meshuggah, they track their drums with Erland microphones. They are really just incredible microphones. The thing with those is they have triangular membranes instead of rectangular or circular diaphragms, and the idea there is that they basically, if you take, if you drop a drop of water into a glass of water, you'll see it, it's reverberating back and forth, and it takes a long time for that vibration to stop. And the same thing with, that's why we want our drum shells round, and why we want our cymbals round. We want that, that resonance and to keep going, but to capture the most accurate sound that you can get from all of your sound sources, you don't want the membrane of your microphone to be reverberating back and forth. You want it to capture that sound wave and then stop. And they found that making the diaphragm triangular dramatically reduced the reverberation on the membrane. So, and I was lucky enough to make friends with them and develop a relationship. And so I've been building my collection of those. So I've got, one out in front of the kick drum. It's an EHR E, and then I've got an EHR D on my snare drum, and then 2 of these EHR M's on overheads. And those things, I mean, these EHR M's, you could mic the whole kit with just those, and it would sound amazing. But I've kind of gone hog wild anyway.
The individual mixes.
Yeah. I've well, I mean, when you're tracking drums, you want to be able to give everybody, each piece and be able to so that they can separate it. But I feel like that it's really important to get the sound of the kit overall. I mean, for certain types of music, you want it to be very sanitary and very, each drum really sounds kind of separate from the others. I mean, a lot of metal playing, it's really beneficial when you've got so many notes happening so quickly. You really do want to be able to capture each piece a lot more succinctly. But I really like the whole, drum sound, like, Bonham or, just that whole, hearing it like it's the whole thing is one instrument. That's right. That's how I kind of want to hear it. So I tend to focus on, I want to get the core of the kit, the kick and the snare and the overheads, and then everything else is just kind of fill in. But we've also got Yamaha EAD10, which not only mics the drum set, so that thing, I get a ton of use on it on gigs. I use that as my in-ear monitors for the drums on gigs where there's no side stage monitor guy. I still get a killer mix in my in-ears of, just from this little guy, and it's got it triggers the kick drum, and then it's got an XY set of microphones on top of it that get everything within like 4 or 5 feet, and you can put triggers on it. So both of these are coming through that EAD10, which is over here, and you can dramatically change the entire kit sound with just this unit, because it's basically, if I isolate that and just play through all the settings, it goes from, there's a big rock and roll sound, and then it'll go to something that sounds like you're playing a cajon, and it really just changes the whole kit up. So I've got...
Isn't that what Tito Nitro uses too?
Yeah, he's got one, and you can see the Charlie GRX. He's miking his kit with one. They're really, it just looked like a really cool concept, and so I was able to get my hands on one, and it's one of my favorite pieces of equipment, really. It's super versatile, and I only just last week started playing around with the triggers on this. I've had this thing for like 2 years and just started playing with these, and I'm like, wow, these these sounds are great. So
Got that Tool vibe.
Ooh,
yeah, which
Afterthought.
that's huge influence on me. Danny Carey's a gigantic influence on me.
Yeah, he's one of my
We got-
faves.
Oh yeah. It's so we've got that covers pretty much the drums. I'm playing a pretty mismatched cymbal setup. I mean, I basically have always just picked cymbals based on a sound that I'm looking for. I'll have an idea of what I'm looking for in my head, and then I just go and look for it in the stores. I don't think I would want to order cymbals from without being able to sit there and actually hear them in person, because it's I mean, I think I would make the exception for Paiste. They seem to be so consistent that if you want a specific, like the Giant Beat series, I would love to have a full set of the Giant Beat series, because that's, I mean, if you play those are the same cymbals that Bonham used. Those are the same cymbals that were used on Dark Side of the Moon, and you can literally if you play the bell pattern from Whole Lot of Love on a set of Giant Beat cymbals, it sounds like it's off the record. I mean, they're very consistent. Or same thing with Dark Side of the Moon, that ride sound. I love that ride sound. But basically, I've got some Zildjian A's and some A customs, and this set of hi-hats that I got. I actually traded a set of old Zildjians that I had with a friend of mine, because I wanted a smaller set, and these are 13s, and they're again A customs. And then I've got this giant set of Soultone 18-inch hi-hats over here. It's the only set they've ever made of 18-inch hi-hats. Well, actually they had one other, so they made two sets of 18-inch hi-hats, but this was the only the custom Brilliant. And I just kind of fell in love with these at NAMM one year and had to have them. So, and this ride cymbal I found at a used store in Vista, California, which it's a place called Drum Flip. And that's actually where I did my first, my only clinic to date. I did a drum clinic there once, and I've bought a lot of stuff from that place. But this is this is my favorite ride. It's a Sabian Memphis 20-inch, and it's significantly darker than any of my other rides. It's washy enough that you can crash it. It's light enough that you can play it in a jazzier style or in lighter. And indeed, Chiopon, Paiste, I like them a lot from Bonzo and also Danny Carey, and that both of them use those. So anyway, this is just a very, very versatile ride. And then over here, the 21-inch Swish Knocker, which I was looking for one for years.
Funny
I've
name.
got like three other China types, but this one's my favorite because it's got the sizzles all the way around it. Oh.
I think we seen that in the Sam Ash in New York when we were there.
Yeah, we went to Sam Ash yesterday, and of course we ended up in the drum section longer than any section, but it was fine. I like
Got to play on some minals because I was like, I need some minals, so I was trying to find some sound.
There's so many options with cymbals now that it's like, I really just I really, it would be nice to have a full like matched set, but it's I'm more focused on the sound and the look of it.
Yeah.
Although that would be nice to have, I like having a good look too. I mean, that's really cool, but I'm much more interested in just the feel and the sound of it. And so I'm not really hung up on having all the same brand cymbals. I can't afford to have the same brand of cymbals unless I get a deal somewhere, So I've got a wide variety of cymbals. From lots of different makers, Sabian, Paiste, Zildjian, Soultone. I've got some UFIP. This is a little Wuhan, a Wuhan Splash. This thing cost me $25, like
what?
5 years ago.
They're not that expensive.
No, they're super cheap. And at that, I mean, this one it's taken 5 years for this thing to start. It's just now starting to crack at the keyhole. So at the
Well, 5 years is a good amount of
5
time
years
for it
on
to last. Yeah.
Flashbulb, I can't complain for that for $25. I mean, geez.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of metal drummers play on the Chinas because
Yeah,
they have they're like extra like dry and trashy for what they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
I like
And
the
then
swoosh. Yeah, I like it too.
and I've got 9000 series pedals from DW.
Smooth.
I really love the feel of them. I love the weight. I got to play at one of the big drum bonanza. They had Thomas brought in a kit that had the direct drive DWs on there with the aircraft aluminum pedals. That's got holes drilled all the way through it.
Wow.
So tell them which Thomas are you talking about for everyone that just came in.
With Thomas Lang, he does the big drum bonanza, or he was for several years at least until COVID, and here we are.
So he's on an album with Thomas Lang, and yeah, and then we'll name let's just name drop because it's
Right.
really special, and show the cover again.
Okay, all right. We've got so it's Carl King's Grand Architects of the Universe, and I got the honor of playing on that with Virgil Donati, and well, I'm not playing with them, but they're all on the album. Virgil Donati and Thomas Lang, Marco Miniman, Dave Elich, Travis Orban, Travis is not as known as the rest of these guys, but he is incredible. I mean, he does the bulk of the drumming on this album. And most of the guest appearances on this album are just for the solo parts. So Travis is doing the majority of what's going on here. So there's only 2 tracks on the whole album that have one drummer playing the whole thing, and I'm one of the tracks and Virgil's the other track. So it's like everybody else just got to come in and do just a solo section for in between Travis's parts. But Travis is a beast.
Travis is a monster.
Holy
I
hell.
tried out for a band that he tracked on, and I'm like, I don't think I could do this.
And I've seen him play a couple of times because whenever he's in town, he would hook me up with tickets to come see him, and man, watching him play, I've never seen somebody manhandle the drums like that.
I love his setup.
Yeah, no rack tom, just he's got ride and hi-hat in the front, and he leaves all this room for sheet music in the front. So I mean, he reads pretty much everything,
and he's quick at it, like as if he's reading a book.
Yeah, he's amazing at sight reading. I am horrible at sight reading. I can sit there and study it and go, okay, this is how it goes, and then I think it does this, and I need somebody to coach me through it. But that guy, I mean, he reads everything, and he's just a monster player. So I got to see him a couple of times, and just watching him play was, I mean, he's all muscle to begin with, and then he gets in there and he's just so precise, and he'll be totally leading with the left side, left foot and left hand leading, and then go over to switching to right handed, totally depending on the part. Whereas most everybody else I know is like, okay, I always lead with my right hand and my right foot. And that was like really inspiring for me to start, okay, really, let's start working on that left a lot more and work on the left foot a lot more, because
just flip your kit around and practice that.
Yeah, well, there are guys that do that, and I mean, I love that about how his kit is that balance, though. I mean, it's really just set up so that he's got same notes on either side. I mean, there'll be slightly different sizes or textures, but he's a very, very well thought out drummer, and just an amazing player, and super nice guy too. Really, 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 really approachable. So yeah, that's
Mike's on that album with those guys.
Can you imagine? That's a dream. That's a dream right there.
His face is on that album.
I'm the cat.
He's the cat.
When I got Virgil to sign it, it was at the LA Vintage Drum Show, and I walked up to him and I was like, I handed it to him, and he was like, "Oh, that's great, you got this." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the cat." And he was like, "Oh, you're on this." I was like, "Yeah, that's good." And that was really cool. But what was I going to say? Oh, the I did share the link in that Bandcamp link. If anybody wants to go check that out, it's on the Bandcamp link that Luna and Yen have been sharing on the site.
Yeah, you'll see it roll up. It just passed like every.
I manually put it in there again.
Yeah,
Very
there you
good.
go.
Yeah,
Bandcamp right there.
It's
There it goes again.
Drumming on that is wild though. There's so much going on in there. It's like a science fiction. It's loaded with. There's all kinds of dialogue going on over it, except for on Virgil's track and my track. Oh, that's what I was going to say. When a few years ago, when I was really struggling with having to do a day job, and like it was like my drumming was just kind of a hobby, even though I had been, I had gotten to that, and I met with my friend, Brian Cantrelli, goes by Nucci. He plays with English Beat, and he's done a lot of really cool gigs. And he and I both play with Ron Blair from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and I wanted to bend his mind about, how do I make this more of a living instead of, just a thing that I do on nights and weekends. And we got together to have a couple of beers at a Mexican restaurant, and we sat down to talk, and he goes, "Did I hear that you played with like Dweezil Zappa or something?" I'm like, "Well, we're on the same album, but no, I didn't actually get to play with him. But there's a bunch of really cool players on the album." He's like, "Oh, who's on it?" And I started telling him, and he's like, he just started laughing. He looks at me, he's like, "Mikey, you have to open with that." If you want to make if you want to turn this into a job, you got to tell people that like right out of the
What a
gate.
resume.
Don't wait until. So I think name dropping is all right if you don't do it just incessantly and make yourself annoying. But
well, you're from California,
It's,
right? So in California, it's pretty common.
Yeah, everybody name drops out here.
Yeah, it's who you know, right? It's who you know.
Yeah. Here's a funny name drop. My pool company used to service the spa for Tom DeLonge of Blink 182.
What?
Wow.
I met him one time just because I was in his backyard cleaning his spa.
Wow.
There's
Was it extra dirty?
No.
He took care of it at least.
That's an example of a bad name drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But good name dropping. So the whole Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, like that big gig that you did, that's huge. How did you even how did that even happen?
Well, I've been playing with my friend Chris Torres down here for like the last now it's been 20 years we've been working together. We started out he had a project called the Chris Torres Band that it was really just, kind of blues rock, singer-songwriter kind of stuff. And I met him through a mutual friend, and we had like a jam session at somebody's house, and I ended up just jamming with a bunch of guys, just kind of random. And then he hit me up after that saying, "Hey, I'm starting a band. Do you want to get together and try and work on some material?" And we ended up, I worked with him for maybe, a year and a half, 2 years in the Chris Torres Band thing. And then he worked with a couple of other drummers. Brian Nucci was one of them. I have immense respect for Nucci. He's such a good drummer. I wish he would get on here and stream. He's just super positive guy and such a great player, so tasteful. So I ended up working with him in his solo act, and then a couple years later, he ended up putting a band together with another guitarist, and we got together and started doing gigs as we were called the Grass Heat, and it was very kind of retro 70s style. I got to play a lot of kind of big Bonham-esque kind of beats with that band. You can still find us on iTunes or Apple Music. You can still look up the Grass Heat and get the one. It's like a 5-song EP that we did. But Chris lived in Carlsbad, and it turned out Ron Blair, he's the original, Hall of Fame bass player for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and he ended up leaving the Heartbreakers for, I don't know, it was more than 10 years. He just kind of got over the the road life kind of thing. He wanted to stay put and just do his own thing. But then down the road, their Howie Epstein, their bass player for I want to say 20 years now. It was at least 15 years, but he ended up having a bad heroin issue, and so they ended up asking Ron to come back into the band when they did the Hall of Fame induction. He showed up for that, and they asked him back in. But turns out Chris, my friend Chris Torres, ended up meeting him because he's basically lived right down the street from Chris's parents. And so Chris started making small talk with him and got on his good side. And before he knew it, he was sitting in with us for shows. And so I got to play with him several times. And here it is, like 10 years later, we record with him and work with him on a regular basis. He's just a super, super nice guy. And he's got so many perspectives and on songwriting and just the general creative process. Every time I work with him, I learn something new. And it's, when you see me here, I'm playing very busy and kind of over the top and mixing, putting as much sound as possible into the whole, but when I play with Ron, everything is much more wide open and controlled and slow. And I mean, that's when I'm gigging, I'm not doing, I'm not going hog on everything and trying to just show off. But that's kind of the fun bit of playing on Twitch is, people kind of come here for that,
Yeah.
People like to see drummers really go ham. And so I get a lot of freedom here that I don't get with all the other gigs. Like with the dance band, everything is 4 on the floor and just straightforward. I gotta stick to the parts. They don't want to hear a whole bunch of frilly fills. They want to, if they want to fill, they just want, that's all they want. They don't want me doing, hurtas around the kit.
Aggressive stuff.
Yeah. So playing with Ron, for like the last 10 years. And then in 2019, our promoter, Robin, started putting together this show with Jeff Slate, who's from New York. And he was the band leader for this whole thing. And we were doing a birthday celebration for Tom Petty at, obviously Tom passed a few years ago. So it was just basically, we had done one the year before, but it was much smaller. And this year we had we booked the El Rey in Hollywood, which is where I saw my most favorite show of all time. I saw Secret Chiefs 3 with Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum there, and that was just the mind-blowing show. So I was already excited just to play there, but we had we had in the band that we were playing with, we had Earl Slick, who was the guitarist for John Lennon and David Bowie. We had Carmen Vandenberg, who is an incredible guitarist who plays for a band called UK Bones, I think. And she's also been working with Jeff Beck. She was just incredible. Just shredding player,
Just
but
those
super
names
tasteful.
alone, wow.
Oh man. Jim Keltner was there, and that was like the most exciting part for me. I mean, if anybody who doesn't know, Bones UK, my sister knew it. Jim Keltner is one of the most recorded drummers in history. I mean, he's been just everywhere. I mean, he's he's worked with Pink Floyd, for God's sake. The Pink Floyd, John Lennon, the Traveling Wilburys. I mean, look up Jim Keltner. It's just the list is incredible. So, he was playing on my kit. Well, actually, it was mostly Ron's kit. Ron's got several drum sets, and he likes to pick up vintage equipment. So we had for the toms and the kick, we had one of his older. It's like a '60s Ludwig, like the olive wrap, which that kit just sounded amazing. And I have another 8-inch deep snare that I put on it, and these hats and this ride and these crashes, and that was the rig. And so Keltner was playing on my stuff, and I was just like beside myself. I'm like, oh my God, that's Jim Keltner. He's playing on my drums. I still have the same drum head on my on that snare drum that he was playing too. So I'm gonna have to, like, when it starts to get too thin to play anymore, I'm gonna hang it on the wall and make sure I write down, what it was. But so we had Steve Ferroni, who was longtime drummer for the Heartbreakers and for Average White Band, and he's done a bunch of other stuff as well. That Shaka Khan. He was just an incredible player, and that was one of the wild things about that gig. We rehearsed for 3 days at this huge sound stage in Burbank, and before, it was all very clearly delineated who was going to be playing on what. And originally, I was only supposed to be doing like some percussion on some of the stuff. I was set to play drums on a lot of it, but of course they wanted Keltner and Ferroni in there because they're both just, these monster well-known players. And we got in there, we did the rehearsals for several days, and I actually ended up doing the drums on one of the original songs from Hattie Webb, who was, she and her sister Charlotte were the singers they were backup singers for the Heartbreakers. There's actually great footage of the songs that we did on YouTube. If you look up the El Rey All Stars, it was just an incredible show. I got to play Steve Ferroni's parts on, that song when Steve was on, the side of the stage. I was like, I went there expecting to do the percussion, and he's like, no, you can handle this one. So I was doing his parts on that. And then, we did like all of this, most of the show, and Keltner came out and did his parts. And then I don't know if he just wasn't feeling good that night or what, but he was like in between the sets while they were doing some auctioning off of stuff. He came over to me and he was like, hey, you're sounding really great. And, I feel like I'm kind of stepping on your toes because this is your gig. He's like, you got the rest of this, right? And I'm like, what?
I feel like I'm stepping on your toes.
Like, wow. Jim Keltner telling me that he's stepping on my toes.
Like, okay.
Okay. That was the other thing. He loved these hi-hats when at the rehearsal space. He asked me because the logo's long gone on him. I've polished it off years ago. And he was like, what are these? These are exquisite. And I told him what they were, and he's like, don't ever break these. And I'm like, okay, got it. So these are Jim Keltner approved. Yeah.
Oh, man. That's
there we go with the name dropping.
Have him sign the inside of the hat or something. Just
I didn't have I'm so terrible about that. Like that, I almost never get selfies with, and I go to NAMM every year. I meet like all my favorite players, and I'm always just like trying so hard not to geek out to the point where it's a turnoff. Like I did that with Les Claypool one time. The first time I met Les Claypool, I freaked out. I mean, I was like, dude, you're amazing, dude. Just, the look on his face was like, holy shit, get me back on the bus. And yeah, so after making a fool of myself in front of like one of my heroes, I like, okay, all right, when you meet somebody that's like one of your heroes, you got to just play it cool, man.
Play it cool.
Just
be their friends. Play it cool.
Just be a regular person,
Yeah. That's how I was when I met Marco. I was like, I don't want to be a fanboy. I just want to hang out and just talk to him about like.
Meanwhile, inside, he's like, oh!
Inside, I'm just dying.
Yeah. Like. Oh, I know. That's the last couple of years at NAMM, I'll see Thomas Hawk walking around, and I'm like, oh shit, there he is. Just kind of walk up there, act normal. Everybody act normal.
Do I say hi? How do I say hi? Do I shake his hand?
The weirdest
some small talk.
Yes, the weirdest thing is like you don't want to approach them and be that, right? Like as a teen, it was just like living in New York. That's just the way it is. You go to parties, people invite you, you end up in a party and you see David Bowie across the way, like talking with his amazing, gorgeous wife, and you're like just, but I didn't go say anything. And to this day, I'm like, damn it. But I was like, I had to play it cool. I was with my date, I just had to be like, I'm like amongst these people. What? I was young.
I know you, but I don't know you.
And then I was just observing their gorgeousness from afar, but I never got to, go up there because they were talking and everybody was vibing, drinking, and doing their thing. But yeah, but then you missed the opportunity too. So you feel like
I did, yeah. I didn't get him. I wanted to get him to sign the snare drum, and I didn't think of it because I was just too, like, there's so much going on that I couldn't focus and go, hey, would you mind, just signing the snare drum? And so I didn't even get that, but I saved the sticks. I have the sticks there up, and I have a cabinet upstairs that I've got his sticks in there. I've got some Mario from Gojira, Tim Alexander from Primus, Tim Soya from Victim's Family, who's a dear friend now. He was the drum technician. Well, he's still the drum tech for Primus. He has been since the late 80s.
Primus. I know you're a huge fan too, right?
I'm a huge fan of Primus. That's another one of those bands that just completely flipped everything. I went from, growing up in Wyoming and getting my first gigs, and everybody was into classic rock. You're either into classic rock or you're into country, and if you like metal, it's like Iron Maiden or Metallica or something like that, which they all have their own things. They've all blazed their own trails, but they're all still kind of based in that same kind of blues and rock based kind of patterns and all that. And the first time I heard Primus was on MTV's 120 Minutes, and it was the video for John the Fisherman, and I remember seeing that. That's why I have an ice bell now.
120
that
minutes.
song.
I remember that show. Oh my god, yes. That was my show. Yes, and Matt Pinfield. He's one of my I look up to him, and I love him, and I still to this day follow him and stuff, and I'm always rooting for him. But yeah, the whole 120 minutes, like when I hear people mention that, I'm like, oh my god, you used to watch that. Babe, do you used to watch 120 Minutes? Do you remember that?
No, I haven't watched it.
But if it was when MTV was good, I guess, when it was
yeah.
It was really late at night, and they would play all these everything that they don't play in the daytime. That's pop, basically. It was all the rock music. That's when you would see Tool videos and things like that.
Yeah, freaking John the Fisherman, just like that blew my mind. I remember, that was when I discovered them and started just listening to them just fanatically. My friends were like, wow, that drummer sounds just like you, except a whole lot better.
Damn.
What?
That drummer sounds like you, but a whole lot better.
That's how I felt though too. I felt the same way. I was like, yeah, that's like everything that this guy does is like the kind of style that I want to be, but he's already there,
Yeah.
And yeah. So
who are your like 5 top influences of drummers that you would revolve your style around?
Yeah.
I would say Bill Bruford's number one. He's just my all-time favorite. And I have a lot of favorite drummers. That's kind of a running joke with Carl and I, as that's his impersonation of me, is talking with his hands, because I do that a lot. And here's one of my favorite drummers. To this guy. Yeah. So Bill Bruford is a huge favorite, and that's that started with being exposed to King Crimson, and then later Yes, and he's amazing. He's one of the most versatile players ever, and now it's just it breaks my heart that he retired from performing, but to do his musical education, and he got a PhD in I forget exactly what, but he's just incredible. He always was, and that's one of the things that I end up playing on my streams when I do covers, is I end up playing Close to the Edge a lot, even though that's it's like 2 18-minute songs and 1 12-minute song. I've done like 3 or 4 times now. I've ended up playing that whole album on the stream because somebody requests Close to the Edge, and then somebody else goes, well, since he did that one, now you have to do And You and I. And then Micah made me do a Siberian Katru one day, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm doing the whole album.
Oh, wow.
So he's one of my favorites. Just incredibly dynamic player and so creative. I mean, that's one of the main reasons why I like to have such. You know, I feel like they're kind of unique setups. I've had a few people say that they're unique, but you know, the thing about drumming is everybody's got a unique setup. I mean, everybody does it differently. So, but the way he does it has definitely been an influence, and he's in turn influenced Danny Carey and Tim Alexander. So, you know, those three are kind of like they're separate but together, you know, because they're all so closely related as far as influence. I mean exactly why I've got the wave drum right here. That's completely stolen from Danny Carey right there.
Wave drums are awesome.
Yeah, I love this thing. So yeah, you know, Bill Bruford, Danny Carey, Tim Alexander, Thomas Hawk, absolutely incredible. Matt Chamberlain is a huge favorite. I mean, he's another one of those drummers that's just, if you look up the list of people that he's worked with,
yes,
it's incredible. And I met him one time at the El Rey, at that show that I was telling you about.
You did?
And not at the show I was playing, at the Secret Chiefs 3 and Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum show. I was down on the floor, we're waiting for the show to start, and I'm standing there talking with my friend Eddie, and I see Matt Chamberlain walking around in the crowd, and I'm like, Eddie, wait, you know, and I had to say, hey, is your name Matt? And he's like, yeah. So I struck up just a small conversation with him, and my buddy Eddie started talking me up to Matt Chamberlain. I'm like, shut up.
Oh my God.
He's like, oh, you should hear this guy. Cause Matt, he was like, have you seen Pageman play yet? Now he's another one of my favorites. Pageman Korechian. He was playing with Secret Chiefs that night, and he's like, have you seen Pageman play yet? And I was like, no, I haven't seen him. And he's like, oh, you're in for a treat. And my friend Eddie's like, oh, well, you should see him play. You could give him spoons and he could make music with that.
Wow.
I'm like elbowing him, like, shut up, man, shut up. And Matt Chamberlain goes, well, sometimes spoons are all you need.
That's awesome.
That was so incredible. And then as soon I shook his hand and he walked on, you know, let him go on about his business. And I'm like, Eddie, don't you know who that was? Just be quiet, man. But you know, he was trying to talk me up. So that's,
what a
you know,
class act.
Hey, is your name Matt? Of course my name is Matt. Who do you think you're talking to?
Yeah, he's incredible. I mean, look him up. He was
in like so many 90s albums, and like, Jesus, like you just see him everywhere. The people that he's worked with. Yeah.
And he's worked with Secret Chiefs 3, with Pearl Jam, with Tori Amos, with I mean, just a huge list. Just amazing.
He filled in for Matt Cameron from Soundgarden. He's done everyone.
Yeah.
Like, he's worked with everyone.
I believe it. He's super creative with the setup and with what he'll bring. And one of my favorite albums is from Critters Buggin', which is him and Skerrick, the sax player, who's worked with Les Claypool a lot. And that's a sax player that I didn't realize he was playing sax for like a year and a half. I thought I was hearing guitar.
Oh,
before
wow.
I realized, that guy's playing a saxophone. Holy crap. You know. So again, with the weird music, I love weird and challenging stuff.
Yeah, the combination.
Really opens up the mind to like different things, different avenues of like creation.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I love using different sounds all the time, is that every time you change the setup, it makes you play differently. Like, even if you're trying to play the same song, if you have the notes in a different place, it makes your brain work a little harder to figure out how to play that same part in this different configuration. Or you might just go, oh, wow, you know, I never realized I could do this pattern. And then, you know.
Yeah. Like I always say, like, I play like the large setup, right? And then I always say, like, I love playing smaller setups because I feel like I can be more creative, because now I got to think outside the box on tone and sound versus having it available for me, you know?
Yeah. And I don't subscribe to this either or thing, like, oh, either you're for small kits or you play these large obnoxious kits.
Like, do you need that many
both
cymbals?
Great equally.
Yeah, it's like driving different cars. I mean, everything has, you know, a different car reacts differently, you know. So I mean, like I've got a 26-inch Ludwig kick drum over there, from it's a early 70s, I think. And when I put that thing on the kit, it changes everything. Like that changes all the bits about the kit. This one's this Sonor is a 22-inch, and that's I've got that in the old Pearl Export too, but my GMS is a 20-inch, and I feel like that 20-inch is the most versatile. Like I mean, I can use it in the most situations, but they're all like, I mean, just changing that one piece of the drum set changes how the whole thing feels. And that's why I've got so many snare drums, is because they all change how everything feels.
11.
And it makes me play different, Yeah. 11.
11.
It's never enough.
Yeah. And I had the same snare drum for like 20 years before I picked up my next one, which I found for like $49. So I was like, okay, I have to have it. And,
it's calling for me.
Yeah, we joke about that, having it in the background and just stacked up and just different ones. Like, which one are we going to play today? And then you could just pick out of all the 11 ones you have.
It's it makes a difference.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I brought home a second snare drum, my wife was like, why do you need a snare drum? I thought you had a snare drum. And now she gets it. She bought me both of my Ludwig Superphonics. She was like, she just couldn't help herself. She learned a little bit about them and found out, how versatile and how well recorded they are. And yeah.
Oh shit! Benny, you're late again.
When I teach Yen how to play drums and stuff, she's gonna learn a lot more of things that I would like, and maybe one day she'll surprise me with some cool cymbals and stuff. I
mean, I still have my Tama drum kit in my dad's house. And with Silicon cymbals and it's still there. He didn't sell it. I'm so glad that he didn't do that, because I still have it there. And I do have a love for drums, and it's the heart of the song, like I always said. So that's why I have a soft spot for drummers, and I have so many of them on the podcast. And everybody's like, "Aren't you tired of interviewing drummers?" And I'm like, I'm putting other types of people in there. I'm gonna do a bunch of different cooking ones, fitness, also a guitar maker soon that he crafts and makes custom guitars. So I'm switching it up, but I love drummers, and I just have a fascination with percussion too, and different kinds of percussions. So and Benny, you're late again. Yes, we have Michael Stone tonight, and he's been telling us a lot of stories. You missed a lot.
Benny's one of my favorite streamers for sure. He's just the way he just jumps in on stuff, and it's stuff that he obviously doesn't know, but he still makes it sound like he was part of the original recording. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And Matt Scurfield, thanks for stopping by too, man.
Yeah, Matt's another monster drummer.
Yeah, such a great player, and so positive and nice, and man, everybody here. There's so many awesome players, and Danny Carey's 60. Wow.
Exactly. So age is nothing but a number, because there's so many drummers that are over 40, 50, 6. There's 6. I mean, my favorite drummer is 60. Come on now. And and that's what I'm saying. If you take care of yourself and hydrate.
Yeah, indeed.
Hydrate. I don't have water next to me. I usually do.
And also, do you have a technique or anything to tell a lot of the drummers? What is it that you do to maintain yourself to not get injured? Like, do you stretch? Do you have a routine before you go out and
the
tour?
only stretch. Actually, I've never toured. That's one thing that I have not checked off that box. I've just done a ton of gigging.
With all these famous people.
in and around Southern California, a little bit in Arizona, a little bit in Vegas, but mostly just LA and San Diego. And then, when I was a kid, I gigged all over Wyoming, but that's all like dive bars, and I've got some stories from all that too. But really, I mean, as far as playing goes and stretching, I mean, really the only stretch that I do is this just this little bit to just loosen up the arm muscles. And I've never been one to really warm up. I just kind of jump in and start playing. But I think, well, Gergo Borlai, when I got to study with him for a day at the Big Drum Bonanza, the guy is just a monster, and his speed is ridiculous, and he can sit there and just play high velocity and high speeds like all day, like it's nothing. And just watching everybody else, like, okay, everybody keep up, and he was doing this all day long. And I asked him, I was like, hey, do you do exercises to maintain this kind of stamina? And he was like, no. He was like, once he got to a certain plateau, it's just there as long as you keep playing all the time.
It just clicks.
So, yeah, it's just, I mean, once you figure out a technique on speed, and that's one of the reasons I really want to get a lot more time on my feet is getting that relaxed control for speed stuff, because I've been there a few times but never prolonged. I've never been able to like do a whole song where it's just going ham on the kick the whole time. I've been able to do songs that have really fast blasts in a short bit, but I want to be able to. I really love drummers like John Longstreth of Origin, and oh man, there's so many amazing metal players right now. Inferno from Behemoth. There's some incredible players out there that are just, they play. Ken Badine from Aborted. If you gotta watch some of his videos, it's insane. He looks like it's a walk through the park for him to just be flying and doing precision parts. He's not just doing speed. He's doing some pretty orchestrated parts and very specific, very, very musical. And he grooves with those high bits. There's just it's so cool the way they change the phrasing. They can be doing something that's super fast with the feet, but they change the phrasing with they're doing on the ride for a minute and then back over here to the hats, and then switch it up to this hat, and then leading with the left, and it's just a whole experience that I want to have, and I'm just not there because I don't have the space here where I can practice blast beats for 8 hours a day without driving somebody insane.
That's enough banging out there.
Yeah, because that doesn't sound very musical to somebody who's not
the outside world. Yeah,
hear what else is going on there. But yeah, so that's really, I really don't do a whole lot as far as warm up. I've found I try and stay relaxed. That's the hardest thing that it's been for me to learn is to control my adrenaline. Because that just changes your perception of time, and there's been so many times where I thought I was playing the right meter or the right time, and I was playing way too fast. So I've spent a lot of time. That's again one of the reasons why I've taken to playing with electronics so much, is because I'm playing with stuff that is on a grid. So I'm not practicing to a click, but I'm kind of practicing to a click, so it's given me a lot more awareness of time, and it's giving me, especially in the dance band as well, I'm playing to click on that stuff, at least to start it off, so that I get a reference. And then once I'm there, it's like I can stay there and not rush and not drag it. And that's one of the advantages of doing so much with the loops, is it's like it's a more fun way of practicing with a metronome,
Yeah, it's pretty cool. A lot of expression too behind it.
Yeah. It's a lot more musical, I feel like, than practicing to a metronome.
Yeah. Do you write music too? Like I see you got keyboards and stuff in the back, and
I've been over the last several years, I've been more focused on just developing my drumming style. So I've really slacked off on, I used to play way more keyboards. I was never great at it, but I was, good enough to come up with musical ideas and to write things that were pleasing to me, and that I go back and listen to now. And I'm like, wow, that was actually, I really like what I hear. Somebody else might hear it and go and say, well, that sounds like a drummer who thinks he's a keyboardist, and I've got several guitars as well. And and I play them about as well as I play keyboards, but well enough to write music. And so I've got a bunch of stuff on like SoundCloud and on my Bandcamp, but it's more what I do on those is I do that under the name of Demiso, and that's more like experimental and a lot of like soundscapey kind of stuff.
That's the SoundCloud that you gave me, right, on the link.
Yeah. So there's a whole playlist on there that's just called Soundscapes. That's a large amount of it is stuff that I did on my own, but a significant amount of that is stuff that I've done with friends of mine from all over the place, where we've just gone back and forth with the tracks and adding little parts. So most of the stuff that's on SoundCloud is stuff that I don't even drum on. I'm just either playing keyboards or synths on the iPad, or samples and that sort of thing. I've always really enjoyed kind of ethereal music. Like, Blade Runner is my all-time favorite movie, and that the soundtrack from Vangelis is that's really what got me started in really going deep into kind of atmospheric music and in that realm. I've always loved synthesizers. Yeah.
I find myself like as much as I write or like to listen to a lot of like progressive rock and stuff like that, I always tend to, when I'm writing something, I always tend to write something more cinematic, or like something that'd be part of a video game,
Yeah. Well, when I first started getting recording equipment, like it's right here. I'm using it for my vocal rig. I've got a BR1180, a Boss BR1180. It's just a hard disk recorder, and that was my first like recording unit, a proper recording unit where I could easily do multi-tracks. And I remember when I first got it, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to write some heavy stuff, like because I love stuff like Sepultura, and I'm a huge metalhead. But it turns out, when left to my own devices, I almost entirely always write really mellow stuff.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll write some stuff that's a little more upbeat or kind of uppity, but for the most part, it's like always like super mellow and ethereal, or maybe kind of sad.
We're almost I guess we're like very alike in that way, Mike, because I always say I'm super metal, but like don't forget to meditate, because I love meditation music and like soundscape. Like even Luna Katal, you're like, oh yeah, you like making that like soundscapey stuff with that like ethereal type of like vocals and like dreamy, spacey guitar stuff and riffs and stuff like that. But yeah, I can listen, like all the bands that you mentioned, I love. So maybe there's a thing. Maybe we're influenced by that, and then when we create, we're just like chill, and we just like go into like a different space, like the opposite of the two, But I want to hear more of it, definitely.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of musicians that play really heavy and aggressive and angry and scary sounding music are some of the most mellow people you'll meet.
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy, but it's true.
I met Carl from Nile and George Callias, and they're both just like these happy-go-lucky, just smiles all the time. And you would think, hearing the music that they're making is like, holy shit, those guys are scary. No.
And they're sweethearts.
Yeah, because they're getting all their aggressions out in their music and on stage, and then the rest of their life they're like, hey, I feel great.
They look very demonic. You go meet them in person, they're like cuddly teddy bears.
Yeah.
I see that
they
all the time.
They wear onesies to sleep and stuff.
Suck on their thumb.
They're all cat people.
Right? So true.
There's so many metal cat people.
Cat people.
And I'm telling you, like drummers also, like I think it's because they get their aggression out on the drums, and then they're super chill, right? And they're not as like, I don't know. That's just, maybe that's just the theory that I have. But yeah, I think you're onto something. I've heard a few metal guys mention too that they listen to like mellow stuff, almost like the opposite situation. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Probably need something to calm themselves down after like screaming all day long.
It's a contrast.
If I look at my my playlist count on Apple Music, like the top things on there, you've got like Meshuggah and Secret Chiefs 3 and Beach House.
Beach House. I told you about them, right?
Yeah, you mentioned them.
Yeah.
I love
it's like
that
Dream
stuff.
Pop. I was just talking about that this weekend, ironically.
And Pink Floyd is a huge favorite of mine. I mean, I've always loved. Well, I didn't always love Pink Floyd. I until like high school, all I knew from them was Another Brick in the Wall, and I just didn't like that song. And then somebody made me. They were like, "No, here, you're going to borrow this. You're going to take it home, and you're going to listen to the whole thing tonight in headphones." I'm like, "All right, fine." And that made me a lifelong Pink Floyd fan. After there was like a good at least 2 years where I listened to that whole album from beginning to end every night in the headphones before I would let myself go to sleep. And they're just, they're one of my all-time favorites.
Mine too.
Even with, all the simple drumming. I love Nick Mason's drumming. Even, it's not super complicated. He really has only a few of the same tricks, but it's like it just works. And I love it. Like Animals and Dark Side of the Moon and Metal. I mean, those are all just such great albums.
And Metal. I used to be big in listening to a lot of like Celtic music and like David Arkenstone and stuff like that. Just
I'm
for some
not
reason.
very familiar, but I do love Celtic Frost. But yeah, I love anything that's got interesting instrumentation. And I know, Celtic music's got to have a lot of that. I've actually, speaking of instruments that I can't play very well, Ron Blair gave me a harmonium. Do you know what a harmonium is?
No.
It's like, it goes very well with tabla, which I also can't play well. So if anybody's got a sitar that they want to give me so I can also not play that well. But no, a harmonium is like, it's a keyboard, but it's like an accordion. So it's one that, it sits on the floor and you have to pump a bellows and play it, like an organ, and it's got pulls on it so that you can have notes that are held and all that. I just love interesting instruments. I've got a hammered dulcimer upstairs too that I need to get around to tuning and playing around with. Micah Ball has done some cool stuff with. I'm pretty sure he's got a dulcimer that he's done some really cool stuff with. If he just started streaming too. If he's still here, everybody follow him, because I've been trying to talk him into streaming for a while, and he just did this weekend his first stream where he just sang to the songs that he's written over the years, and he's a really prolific songwriter and really talented. So I was excited to see that he did a stream. So he definitely deserves a follow. So Micah Ball. If there you go.
Oh, that man.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in there and then he went to sleep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he just left a little while ago. I said, "Sweet dreams."
Yeah, he's a good guy. We've actually there's another really cool chapter of my musical life was involved him and several other guys in what's called the Immersion Composition Society. And that's something that I discovered way back when MySpace was still a thing.
Nice.
It was a bunch of musicians in lodges around the country and around the world. There were some in Europe, and there were some in larger cities around the US where they would play these compositional games where the idea was there was like the 20 song game where everybody would pick a day, and in that day the goal was to write at least 20 songs. Now, you didn't lose if you didn't write 20 songs, but that was the goal, so the idea was to be as creative as possible and write as much as you can. And then the next day they would all get together and present their music, what they did the day before, and they would present it to each other. Well, that was another thing. I'm watching all these guys on MySpace and watching, the music that they're posting, and it was just wildly original stuff. So cool with all these different instrumentations and just, I was like, wow, these guys are so cool. I'll never be a part of that. That's, they're completely out of my league. And then one year, one of my friends from, who was, friends with people in the Immersion Composition Society, and he was in Holland. He sent me like 6 tracks that he had programmed MIDI he'd done just some MIDI synth tracks to, and he sent me those, and he's like, "Here, man, throw some drums on these, have some fun with it." He gave me free reign to just do that, and I took a day and tracked drums to like 6 of his songs, and sent back my drum tracks, and then at the same time he sent those same tracks to a guitarist in France named Valentine Corrette, who is just really, really cool stuff. He's super into effects and looping and just an outstanding guitarist. So he sent us both the same tracks at the same time, and we both did our independent thing, and then sent it back to him, and he put it together and then mixed it, and he ended up sending it to his friend Marina Oregon in London, and she put it on her radio show. So I got to hear myself on a radio show in London on live. I was listening to it streaming. Literally made me cry. Like there were we were sitting there. I'm sitting there listening online and going, one of my songs is going to be on the radio in freaking London.
Wow.
And this was when I was in the Grass Heat, which was all like just real straight blues stuff, and I loved what we were doing, but it wasn't like this weird kind of thing that I've always been into. So to get the chance to have that like played somewhere and with all these other bands that I was just super excited about, it's they do a show on it's on Resonance 104 FM in London every Sunday, and it's called The Other Rock Show, and it's just full of crazy music, just wild time signatures, amazing players, and just super exciting stuff. So I got to hear that, and then from that we started putting together kind of a worldwide lodge of the Emergent Composition Society, where now the 2 of the founding members of the whole thing are part of our lodge now, and we've done several things where we've gotten together and gotten together virtually and played like round robin, where we pick like 8 guys, and each guy, one guy starts the parts, then the next person adds to it, then the next person adds to it, and before you know it, you've got this song that's got 8 separate parts to it, and the last person to add to it gets to do the mix down, and then we submit that to the group, and we've done like 5 albums that way. You can find that on Bandcamp also. It's under Intero Clef Lodge. I should have put
interesting.
that.
Like an intense project, just
I
piece
love
everything
that kind
like
of
a puzzle,
stuff.
putting things together.
It really got me to dive deep into recording, and it got me a lot more. It made me feel a lot better about doing it my way instead of just always trying to fit in somebody else's spot, which I still want to be a guy that you can call to say, okay, I just need straight blues here. I want you to keep it simple. Don't be hitting cymbals all over the place. We don't need any fills in this song. Maybe I'm just playing it with brushes or whatever, so that's an important part of being a musician. But what's
Can
really
we
exciting
do that on Twitch at some point? Yes, I want to do that on Twitch, guys.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get something
Absolutely.
going now that we're talking about it, because it feels like
yeah.
Feels like that's the way to go now.
That would be so fun. Yeah. To do just basically, yeah, you pick a group of like, let's say, 6 or 8 people on Twitch, and then, somebody start off. It doesn't have to start with drums. You can start off with whatever. It's just, you really just, do something, write it and send it out in the world, and then watch while it blossoms into a thing. And it was really exciting to like do a drum track and then watch it as everybody adds their parts to it, because we'd all have it in a Google Drive, so you could watch and listen to every step of the way as it developed into something, and it's really exciting. Just that level of creative freedom and collaboration is just wonderful.
Yen had started an idea with that on her Discord to get musicians to collaborate with each other, and we're still gonna try to like build that into fulfillment. But that, having to do something like that would be really cool to see that other musicians would be a part of and just build.
Yeah,
that would be nice.
Yeah.
You just have like a like a section on Spotify saying Twitch collaborators, you know.
Yeah. And also we are working on something for the fall, like end of summer fall with a lot of the drummers. But you know, it's top secret right now until we get it into like real like play like the way we want it, and it has to be perfect and it has to be just right. But because
Be ready.
yeah. So be ready, drummers, because we're definitely doing something like that. So he's moving this week, and he's bringing the e-kit, and we're doing a bunch of like music stuff together. So that's gonna be super fun, and I definitely want to collab with more people and do more kind of interesting things like that. I keep on trying to think of things that are different and that can include the community so that we can all like just jam out and do stuff. You know, that's why we tried Zoom today.
Speaking of getting collaborators, we had Dr. Nice inside the chat, and he's a phenomenal musician.
Nice.
Oh, thank you for being. Yeah, he has a doctorate in music. I mean, come on.
Plays keyboards. He sings. He's got a beautiful cat named
Banjo.
Banjo.
Banjo reminds me of Mike's cats too.
Yeah, he's a great guy too. So he loops stuff too. So like I would definitely link up with Dr. Nice for some projects.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm following him yet or not, but I will definitely follow now.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Everybody that's been on the podcast have been amazing, and it's just been a journey. It's been 2 years. And this is the last time that Luna and I are going to do it from different remote places. So we're going to start doing it we're going to do a revamp. I still like this layout though, with the Times Square and everything. It will be kind of hard to think of something cooler looking, but
we'll figure it out.
We'll see. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so if you guys are just tuning in, we are here with Michael C. Stone. He's a drummer. He does looping and drums at the same time. He combines it. And he's also worked with many, many amazing drummers. I mean, Thomas Lang, just to name one. And he was in an album with multiple drummers that I was like, wait, like...
Got his name stamped on it.
And he was a cat. He's a cat from space. So it was really fun. And he showed the cover before. Yeah, so if you haven't seen his socials...
He also took lessons from Marco Miniman.
Yes. That was his first lesson. Imagine having that... for your first teacher.
Well, imagine not taking a lesson for 20 years because you're too stubborn to learn from somebody better than you.
Oh.
I really wish I would have started taking lessons when I was much, much younger. I feel like I certainly would have been farther along, you know?
I'm sure a lot of us would want to do more things when we were younger, now that we're older, thinking back about it, you know?
Yeah.
But hey, I thought I was amazing, you know? Like, well,
so your sister said,
yeah, you might want to try and get better at that.
Well, you know, when you have really good sisters, they'll tell you like it is, but it's only to improve you. We just want to make you guys the best because we see it.
Absolutely. And that's what she did. And it's every time I get to play for her, I'm just like, it makes me play with even more passion. Like, I mean, when she was, when she came to the El Rey show for the Tom Petty celebration, I was just beside myself with that. I mean, it was already an amazing gig, but to have my sister in the crowd, incredible. I was just, I mean, just playing with that much more passion. Every time she comes to the stream, I feel like, you know, I feel like my you know, I'm putting my emotions more into the drums than just playing along, you know, or just doing something. It just really adds something, because she was the one who exposed me to the thing that made me realize that's what I want to do. This is me. And she was like the one that woke me up to that.
That's awesome.
I really, you know, I really didn't have any like discipline or drive before I discovered drumming and really threw myself into it. I was very just kind of lost and didn't know what I was going to do, you know? And this gave me something to always have to improve. I mean, I say this all the time. That's the greatest gift of being a musician, is that you will never stop learning as long as your mind is open to learning. The ceiling is there. There is no ceiling. You
Sky's the limit.
In for endless growth, and that's. I mean, that what could be a greater gift than that?
It's awesome to have like family and like friends, especially family for sure, because they're closer to you. They're, you know, their blood to support you in that way and help you build in that way, you know. So that really that's amazing that you have that kind of support behind you.
I think
so much.
I think we need to show everyone that just came in, because I think we've had like 2 raids and a few people pop in for another Magical Mike session.
All right.
Is that gonna be your new name, Magic Mike? Magic Mike drums.
Yes, Magical Mike on drums. Yes.
Probably taken. What shall we do? Will we do some more looping, or should we do like a play along? Or
let's do a play along. Let's hear one of your favorites that you like to rock out to.
All right.
Or maybe something that your sister would like. That's a favorite of hers.
All right.
That would be nice.
How about some Mr. Bungle?
Okay.
Yes.
I know that's so that's one that I've exposed her to. That she was like, I didn't realize I liked this. When she was first exposed to it, she was like, what is this? No, because it's so crazy weird. But yeah, Mr. Bungle's like, that's my all-time favorite album is Disco Volante from Mr. Bungle. That's the most dynamic album that I think I've ever heard, and it covers so many different genres, and it was so different from their first album that I really didn't know what to make of it. I was actually very, very put off by it at first, because I was like, what the hell happened here? You know, there was none of the funk metal there anymore, none of the circus kind of music. It was a completely different experience, and I didn't get it until I came back and started listening a couple weeks later. But I'm going to play one that's not off of that album. I'm going to play one off of California. It's called Ars Moriendi, and that's another song that was just blew my mind when I first heard it. I was like, what is this? This has got some really cool parts to it, and it's one of my favorites ever.
Sweet.
Yeah, we'll do that.
So after this, we're gonna hit our final questions, and then
All right.
and then we'll find someone awesome to raid.
Sounds great. All right.
Hey, this is Michael C. Stone, guys, here in YenYorkCity. Let's go.
shit.
Michael C. Stones.
It's a workout.
Killer.
One of my all-time bands. Just that's one of those bands that just changed everything about music for me.
There's so much going on in that song.
I remember the first time hearing it, it was like, how can they remember all those parts? That's like, it has to be cut and paste. And they wrote a lot of their music that way by, just doing studio tricks, because they were like, okay, look, anything you can do to write the song is open game, but you have to learn how to play it on stage later.
Wow.
So I'm really, I'm not opposed to doing, whatever it takes to write a song, whatever tool you have at your disposal to write and get the ideas out of your head. Absolutely do it. And, even if it's not real, even if you're programming drums, who cares? You're writing music, I'm not going to be snobby about not being able to play something because it's programmed drums. I mean, that's a whole different thing. Or like, how everybody used to be like afraid of drum machines, and now it's like, no, it's another tool to work with. It's a different instrument. It's like, it's playing with something different. So, yeah.
It's funny
Nice.
because I remember when I was in bands, it was so hard to find a drummer that I really liked, and it was just like every drummer that we would try to get in the studio or rehearsal would be like, no. It's like it's like not the vibe we were looking for, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say anything, but it was just a lot of like craziness, right? So then I was like, what is it? Why is it so hard to find a good drummer? And then it was like, at the end, I ended up getting a drum machine just to create my own like personal songs that I created, everything. But I think God blessed me, or the ethers or whatever you want to call it, source, because there's only amazing, awesome drummers now around me, and I couldn't find one for a long time.
Now you have a lot to pick from.
So it's incredible.
All over the place.
Yeah, and they're all different, and I like every single one of them. So, I love it, and that's a perfect example of you could do a lot with a lot of different tools and different sounds, and that's so what did you think, Luna? Did you like that? You think I'm gonna throw that at you next time?
Oh God, I have to learn that. That's
Like,
Max said, did you remember me sending you that like 1.5 years ago? And I'm like, I don't remember that song. If I did, I probably died. So because I have to really sit down and break those parts down, because there's a lot going on in there.
I've listened to it so many hundreds of times that it's like, I mean, there's that one, or that the Secret Chiefs 3 one that I opened with. I've probably played that one 500 times.
wow.
And just because it's a song that I was just obsessed with. I mean, I have in my collection, I've got like 10 different versions of that song, because they're one of those bands that's like, yeah, sure, go ahead, record it and put it on archive.org. If you've never looked on archive.org in their live recording section, there is, thousands upon thousands of live shows recorded in there from a wide variety of bands, free for you to download. It's any band, that allows people to record and put, bootleg versions up. It's on there, as long as some representative of the band has to approve it on the site. But once they do, it's like, man, you get, there's just so much to choose from there, and so many amazing bands that I never knew about, but just browsing around on archive.org, you go, well, that looks like an interesting name. Let's see what they sound like. And
Archive.org. Yeah, I haven't heard about that. That sounds like a good reference material.
It really is. And there's a ton, of course, Grateful Dead has a ton of stuff on there. I've never been a big fan of the Grateful Dead, but there's been a few times that I've seen or heard songs, and I'm like, oh, well, I can dig this, but I just wasn't exposed to them at the right time. And, now I think I could appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah, a few, I guess, flash questions that I can throw, because I didn't get, we just been vibing and talking about so many things, but
Sure.
we did talk about your kit. We didn't talk about your favorite drumsticks? Like, what do you play with?
Oh, I've been I've been doing the Vader 5As, the 5A Los Angeles with nylon tips. Um, Sometimes for like bluesier stuff, I'll switch to wood tips because it sounds a little more earthy on the ride cymbal. Um, but mostly I really dig the nylon tips, and I started playing these because Mark Zonder turned me on to them, the 5As and the 5Bs, and the yeah, the 5Bs are only a little bit heavier. So actually, here's an interesting thing: that one of the last recording sessions I did, we were doing. Yeah, I bet Benny can give us a few good songs from the dead. He knows benevolent Dick knows how to pick songs that you can just jump right in on, even if you've never heard them before. Like when he requests a song on my stream, I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. Well, most of the time. Sometimes I'm afraid I'm going to disappoint him. So, but anyway, one of the last recording sessions that I did, I was doing a song that had a big open groove on it, and I was playing with the 5As, and I just felt like I was rushing it, So after like 3 or 4 takes, I'm like, you know what? Let me just grab some heavier sticks, and just playing with a little bit heavier of a stick allowed me to slow myself down just enough to where it was like, oh, that solved it. So I always carry them, even though I primarily use the 5As, and they're my favorites because they're a lot faster, I feel like, but you can still get the speed. I mean, if you look at Gojira, that drummer is fast as hell, and he's playing with Lincoln Logs. I've got one of his sticks upstairs. It's like I wouldn't even try to play with that thing. I might try and
Okay, look at Thomas. Thomas plays on those giant sticks.
Oh man, he's so good. Like, if you ever watched that playthrough of Clockworks, that just, oh man, yeah. I get goosebumps watching that guy play that stuff. It's like there's like 2 songs from Meshuggah that I even feel like I can try to play, and I still don't get him right, because he's another. I mean, he's in the metal genre, but he does it in a different way. Like, I mean, that's the only band he's ever really been in for like 25 years. He's been in Meshuggah, and he has just cultivated that style, and it's all he does. So he's so good at it, and it just sounds like magic to me what he does. Like, I can't figure it out, even though I could figure out like individual parts, but then trying to put them together, it's like, man, that like goes against my natural movements. I can't even do that. He's an incredible player. Yeah, so that's the 5As. They're kind of light. They're light enough to use for like quieter gigs, and I mean, they're light enough to use for quieter gigs, and they're heavy enough to really get good volume and rock with. So I do dig them, and I like using a lot of different things for different gigs. I get these Vic Firth nylon roots. They're it's like a bundle of nylon, but they're I want to say not quite an 1/8 inch. Maybe it's each one of them is maybe a 1/16 of an inch in gauge, and they're just you can get a good meaty hit out of them, or you can play super light with them. And so I have one pair of those that I've been using for like the last 7 years. And I use them when I do low volume rehearsals, and I use them when I do like loungy kind of gigs where I'm using I've got this little Brazilian Odori kit, the cafe kit, and I use it with that. And we'll do like these loungy gigs where, everybody's, you can be sitting 10 feet away from us and talking at a comfortable level, and we're still over there playing, without feeling like we're losing anything. They just have a good meaty sound to them, and they're not overbearing. So
you said you started playing gigs again this year, or is it still not?
Yeah, we've got this year so far. We've had some live stream stuff where we've played at there's this club in Solana Beach called the Belly Up. It's my favorite place in Southern California to play. Really, it's just a great venue. Its maximum capacity is like 600.
That's cool.
but it's, really, I mean, the place has a history. I mean, the Rolling Stones have played there, freaking, Willie Nelson, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Sting has played there. It's just, it's an endless list of people that have played. So every time I'm on that stage, and I've played that stage more times than any place else I've played. And every time I'm there, I'm like, man, Willie Nelson was right here. I got to open. Go ahead.
No. You got to open for who?
When the Grass Heat was still active, we got to open for Lemmy from Motorhead. He had like a rockabilly band with Slim Jim Phantom from the Stray Cats. So I got to open for Lemmy.
That's
like
incredible.
Set up my drums, and right behind me was his bass rig, and I'm like I'm sitting there, and I had to take a picture of his bass rig. And I only barely got to meet him, just enough for a picture, and that's one instance where I did get a picture, even though it was super dark and grainy, but it was like, that's me next to Lemmy Kilmister right there.
That's really cool.
But yeah, that's so we've done some live streams from there, and we've done a couple of shows where we're actually yesterday was our second time on a double-decker bus, just driving up and down the coast, which was really fun. People are just so excited to see any live music right now that even though we're like driving by on a bus, people were just losing their shit. Like screaming and yelling and waving, and everybody taking pictures and video, and even the cars that were getting stuck behind us were still like, yeah. I mean, we're sticking them in traffic and they're still cheering us on. I mean, that says how much people want live music again.
Yeah, it's great.
We've had a couple of go.
A couple.
We've had a couple of private gigs where it was like masked and everybody stays away, but now we're starting to the dance band's got a bunch of dates on hold starting in June, so hopefully we'll be getting back into the Belly Up, which is we were playing there almost every Friday for forever, and we used to pack that place. We would do a happy hour show where it was like, no kidding, like 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, we would have that place packed, just absolutely packed on a Friday night, before it's even, it's not even nighttime yet. And it's just wall to wall people dancing and smiling and having a great time. And so that's, did a ton of work with them. And so stuff's starting to come back, but not, obviously not as regular as it was before. I mean, before COVID, I was literally doing 3 to 5 gigs a week, and with multiple bands, including Ron Blair, and Atomic Groove is the dance band, and Chris Torres band, and another band that I play with and record with fairly frequently is called the Drabs, which is you can also find that, the Drabs. It's he labels it as shoegaze, and it's the vocals are kind of like a Lou Reed kind of thing. I would say it's kind of like if you mixed Lou Reed with like a hint of Dinosaur Jr. or something like that. It's Dinosaur I don't know how. He's really big on damn it, I'm forgetting the name. Yo La Tango. He's a big fan of them. And I think that influences them a lot. So, I was doing a lot of different stuff and multiple nights a week, like every week. So for the last few years, if I wasn't gigging or recording, I was either practicing or preparing equipment for the next night, or, studying the music that I needed to study, programming my metronome, and, choosing which drums am I going to use for this gig. And so, I mean, I was like really focused on trying to make it more my living again. And then, COVID happened, and that just pulled the brakes on everything. So really hoping that it gets back as quickly as possible. I'm getting my second shot on the 17th. So
that's fun.
Luna got all shotted up. He got his second one 2 weeks ago. He got a fever though. He did with the second one. He got a fever. With the first one, he didn't.
Yeah.
First one, I got just a little bit of soreness in the arm, and then I was a little tired the next day.
My whole arm was dead.
My wife got pretty sick from the second shot. She was down for the count for like 24 hours, and then it just went whoop, and she was like, oh, I think I feel better now. And so she's in the clear, and now I'm just, I'm next. So
Yeah. Plus, I can't wait for TwitchCon because you are around the area, right? Like,
yeah, I didn't even really know about Twitch until last year. I really didn't know much about it at all. Hey, Necromane, Necromane is one of our Interoclef Lodge from the Immersion Composition Society. I've done a lot of music with him as well, and he's got a band camp as well where he's done some really cool ambient music. You should check it out.
I'm following you now because you seem to
Yeah.
to do all that kind of stuff. No, this is where you have to stream now. You have to come on board and stream. And I think it was a really good experience, right? Even though everything happened last year, you made the best of it, and you ended up, really making a little community, and it's growing and it's growing, and it happened in a year's time, right? Because you started streaming. When did you start streaming? You started streaming in
last August. I started in August, and then our landlord, like after 10 years of living in the same spot, in the middle of the pandemic, decided to sell his house. So we had to move, and that like interrupted everything. I was just starting to get a flow with it, and I was streaming like 3 nights a week at least, and then all of a sudden it was like, again, pulling the brakes, move everything.
Yeah.
In the first 4 months that I lived here in this new place, I completely changed the configuration of this room no less than 5 times. And that is a massive undertaking to take all the stuff out of this room and redo it again. It was just, that's what
Luna's gonna have to go through, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we're trying to get rid of a lot of stuff still.
Yeah, I'm telling him.
No idea how much stuff I had after living in the same place for 10 years.
It starts to come out when you start moving, and you're like, wait, I had this?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I didn't know I had it. Now I can go to the trash because obviously don't care for it anymore.
Yeah. It's liberating to get rid of stuff that you really, once you realize I really don't need this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with all the gigs you've had, I know you've had some pretty good ones, but which one was the most like horrible that experience? Did you ever have one that was like really like, oh my god, like the lighting was messed up, like the lights were all triggered wrong, and like everything just became Murphy's Law?
I've had to play sick as a dog before. I mean, there have been times where I've had a gig, and not only did I just need the money that bad, but we didn't have anybody to sub, and you've got 5 other guys that are counting on that paycheck too. So there have been times where I was like really sick and still showed up and did like a 4-hour gig, and that is not fun. It's playing drums still makes you feel a little bit better, but then like the next day it just, oh man, you don't go doing a workout when you're sick. That's just it's not good for you.
Sweat it off.
Yeah. So I mean, I've had like that. There was speaking of just gross things, I had a gig at the Princess Resort in San Diego once, where there was a guy that was just too drunk and trying to start fights with people, and he was down on the dance floor, and he was wearing these like khaki or khaki, sorry,
Cocky
short. He was getting cocky in his khaki shorts.
And shit don't stink.
Trying to push. Well, he harassed the wrong guy. The guy punched him, and the guy shit his pants as he was hitting the floor.
Speaking of shit,
and squashed. It shot out the leg of his cargo short all the way across the damn dance floor, like a shit cannon, and the whole place just reeked like immediately. It was like, oh my god, and then some bouncers came in, and they're like, all right, buddy, they're holding him out as far away as they could get him.
That sounds like a shitty
there's
situation.
been a lot of like bad moments at most of these drummers have experienced where people actually shit themselves. Apparently, that's like
Yeah.
a theme. Like,
Oh, yeah.
It's a shitty situation.
I've had some tough gigs where there was just like one guy is just like harassing you for no reason. There's one guy that I'm not going to say who it was because he's a well-known player. He was an incredible guitarist, but he just gets really, really bossy. Like I had to learn like 19 songs in 3 days for him, and I learned them exactly how they were on the versions that he sent me. And we didn't even have a rehearsal. It was just like, okay, show up to the gig with your gear, and the only rehearsal we'll have is just a quick sound check. And the guy was just barking orders at me and like, no, don't ever do it that way, and no, you're doing it all wrong. He didn't even listen to the song. I'm like, dude, I'm playing it exactly like it was on the album. This is exactly how you sent it to me. And the guy was just like harassing me, and I'm like, what?
I'm sorry why I'm laughing. I don't know. It's just.
I was like, we did sound check, and then I had to go home to get changed and stuff. It wasn't that far away from home, and I was like, I was just furious about it. I'm like, what the hell is this guy's problem? Like, is he just trying to test me, or see how much shit I'll put up with, or what?
Oh, it was like you were getting trolled to see how much and then you thought he was gonna come out of the left field and be like, I'm just messing with you. I was just seeing how. Was it that bad?
No, there was never any resolve to it. We played the gig. I killed. There was resolve. He did at the end of the gig. He was like, you knocked it out of the park. But during the whole time, I was like, what the hell is with this guy? I'm doing everything he's asking for. It's like, and I wasn't playing loud enough for him, so I'd play louder. And then he was like, no, not like that. I'm like, what do you want, man?
So if he asked you again to play for like a good amount of money, would you accept?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Honestly, I kind of feel like, this is somebody who could possibly get me much more high profile gigs. So I kind of, after the whole experience, and talking to the rest of the guys that were in his band and who were very experienced with him, they were like, no, he does this with every drummer, so don't even sweat it. And they even gave him crap on the mic in front of the crowd. They're like, yeah, and he's, and don't listen to him. Mikey's doing great here,
Oh man, like you say, he got thrown under the bus.
It was like, I honestly think he was just testing me to see, how much shit
you could take. Yeah.
How much pressure can you take? Because if you go on the road, yeah. So I honestly, I think that's what it was about. So, and I did a great job, I felt, and I was told by, the rest of the band and everybody in the audience, they all thought I did great. So I think the guy was just testing me. So, that's why there was no hesitation that if you ask you again, yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll go do it again. That's part of that. If you want to be a pro, you have to be able to deal with stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to still be able to show up and do the show and kick ass and not shrink and just into a pile. Nucci, my friend with English Beat, he said when he first got that gig that the main guy for that band was just brutal with him. Like in the middle of songs, he'd be turning around and yelling at him saying, "Oh, you're going to go home on the next bus."
Man.
Like just working him over. And then at the end of the gig, he's like, you did a great job, man. Great job. Just keep doing it just like that. And I think he was just trying to get the guy's adrenaline up, because he just wants to get like more out of him on stage or something, get some anger into this guy so that you're too damn happy. We need a little bit of, so, you got to deal with some of those things. So yeah, as far as bad gigs go, that's about it.
We don't know who it is. Now we're gonna be guessing. Like we're gonna be like, I wonder who that was. But
all right, it's the goose chase. I'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
Hey, Ray Musica. Yeah, you came in.
Hey, Ray.
You have to watch the VOD. Ray, he's told us so many memorable moments, musicians he's worked with that you would know, really.
This is so fun. I'm so glad that you gave me this opportunity. This is just exciting for me. and
Are you kidding me? Like all the stories and everything, like we're honored that you actually like
oh,
came onto the show and gave us this time, you know? Um but yeah, we wanted to have like a time where we can all like get to know you more, you know, because I've been on your streams and I see that you're doing something different, you know, you're doing something that I haven't seen, you know, the looping and stuff. I really appreciate, and I like all the songs that you play. They're very different, and you have like a very intricate array of songs and bands that you like playing that I like. That we seem to like a lot of the same things. So
yeah, I noticed that like the one day when I ended up playing Beach House and Jeff Buckley and
I love Jeff Jeff
well,
Buckley is like one of my all-time favorites, and so is Chris Cornell,
yeah,
and Beach House, and I like all those kind of like, you know, dreamy, spacey, like,
yeah.
you know,
How
that.
about Stereo Lab? Do you like them?
Yes, like
Yeah,
I just
they're one of my
everything that
favorites too.
everything, just everything. When I'm in your streams, I'm like, oh, you know that? Oh my god, I'm like instant bestie. Like I love everything you play and your style and everything. Like if I was a drummer, I would want to be like you. Like just being
Uh,
experimental and doing the looping and everything. That's what I would want to do. And also because you like that soundscape stuff that I like, you know. But we're metal, but we're still, you know. But we
yeah,
like that. So that's I like that balance, that combination that you got, and I really appreciate that. So I'm honored to have you, and we found out so many amazing stories and people that you've worked with, and yeah, like I hope you guys, if you guys are tuning in or on the lurk, I hope you get to watch the VOD because it's been really amazing getting to know Michael Stone so well, and he has an amazing sister, you know, and so we got to
yeah.
know a lot about your history and everything and how you started. And yeah, it's been really awesome talking to you and getting to know you more. So the last question that we always ask is the 12 songs to the soundtrack of your life. So
All
it's
right.
either easy or hard. Like, can you think of 12 songs that will describe you in your
Well,
life?
I put thought into it before, and I realized I couldn't narrow it down to songs, so I did albums instead. Except for, I mean, there's a couple of exceptions, but yeah, I would say, you know, the first one that I would say, I'm going to go in chronological order because it's basically in the order that I was exposed to them, and probably the first would be The Entertainer from Scott Joplin, because that's my first musical memory of just like losing my mind to a song. I remember, you know, my parents had the soundtrack to The Sting. You remember that with Paul Newman? It was, you know, what was that? It was like early '70s movie about a bunch of con men, and they used Scott Joplin music, just, you know, that kind of ragtime piano stuff. And I remember as a kid listening to that song, The Entertainer, and just running around and around and around. Like if that song came on, I was just running circles, and that's like my earliest musical memory. And I think that was like probably the first sign that I was just obsessed with music. Next, the next thing would be Exit Stage Left, was specifically YYZ, because that was the moment that I realized I wanted to be a drummer,
Yeah.
and that, you know, that really changed my life, you know. And again, that was my sister, her exposing me to it. She had all the cool albums when I was a kid. I was really into ABBA, and I still love ABBA, but I think
Which
I
one's your
was
favorite song? Which one's your favorite ABBA song?
from ABBA.
Hmm.
Oh boy, um, probably Chiquitita. You know that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's again a really sad song,
I'm
and
sappy. I like the winner takes it all.
yeah, I like that one a lot too.
I like the
Um,
sappy ones.
yeah, and but there's just so many hooks, and the vocal
And
harmonies
money.
are
Money, that
amazing.
song. Money,
Yeah,
money.
there's a lot of them, but I
There's
would
just
say
so many good ones.
probably my favorite. Um, then you know, from so yeah, my sister had all the cool albums. She exposed me to like Ozzy Osbourne and Def Leppard and what else? well, Rush, obviously. I remember when she had Billy Squier. She had the, Don't Say No from Billy Squier. And I remember one time we were listening to it and I started singing along with it. And she's like, "Hey, stop that. This is my record. You can't sing along to it."
What?
Total bully.
And that's what we do to younger brothers.
Stop telling that story. No, it's true. I'm telling it. So
it's forever the story that he will tell.
Yeah. So she exposed me to so much of the music that I just ended up, directing where I went. Ozzy Osbourne started my descent into metal. And
so she's like the sister in like Almost Famous, that she gives all her records to her brother and just like, one day you'll be cool. Remember? and it's like, and then he listens.
But not right now.
No, like when you were little, like, but she was like an influential person, I would say, right?
Yeah, very much, very much.
Yeah. Shout out to sister.
Drummer. Yeah. Then okay, so there's a bit of a jump from there to Metallica, Master of Puppets. That album was like, I thought I knew what heavy music was, and then somebody played me Whiplash, which obviously isn't on Master of Puppets, but that got me into Metallica because I'd never heard anything that heavy. That was one of those times where, that when I first heard it, like my stomach went, whoa, what is that? Like, holy crap, that is heavy. That's it like got my blood pumping. Like Metallica was like my favorite for a while. And I still think that's their pinnacle. That Master of Puppets.
Me too. That's my favorite Metallica album, Master of Puppets.
It's just it's a great album from beginning to end, and there's just I don't think they've done anything since that has been that powerful. And I'm not really much of a fan anymore. Any of the stuff past like And Justice for All, I was just kind of bored with.
Yeah, we talk about this. It's like a touchy subject, but I agree. I agree. Like, yeah, I mean, okay, we And Justice for All, like Ride the Lightning, the Black Album, the Master of Puppets, like those are all like, they're always gonna be like those albums that we respect and we love. But it's like we're talking about Reload after Reload and all that stuff, and then it just changed. It just but then people are gonna respect them because they were kind of like that band at the time. At their time, they were the band, right? So
yeah, they were. I mean, they there's no arguing with that level of success. I mean, they're arguably the biggest rock band in the world, and who knows how big they're going to be, by the end of their careers. I don't know. It's undeniable that Master of Puppets was really where it was at for me. Then it was Primus. John the Fisherman, that introduced me to like, holy shit, I didn't know you could do any of this. Like, here's a guy that can't sing, but he doesn't care. He's still going to do it his way. And who plays bass like that? Like, nobody I had ever seen played bass like that. That drummer was doing things that I didn't know were possible, but were still like, seemed like things that I should have thought of, and I was just obsessed with Primus for several years, and they're still just an all-time favorite. There's a lot of Primus songs that I like to play along with. Then somebody else introduced me to King Crimson, so that would be the next thing, was the album Discipline. So if I was to pick one song off of that, it would be Elephant Talk, because that was another one of those moments where it was like, oh my God, I didn't realize you could do this. There's this blows the whole game wide open. This is amazing. I mean, what is that sound that the guys, the song starts with Tony Levin on Chapman Stick. I'd never even heard of a Chapman Stick, and the sounds that were going on, and Bill Bruford's drumming on there, and Robert Fripp's guitar work on there. And just the whole thing was, everything about that song was mind blowing at the time. And that was already, several years after it had come out. And I'm like, oh my God, how is this possible? But that whole album is incredible. Discipline, if you're not familiar with it, you should definitely check that out. Just amazing stuff. But look up Elephant Talk if you don't know much about King Crimson. That's kind of like mid-period King Crimson. then the next really highly influential thing would be Pink Floyd The Wall, which is, that's still not my favorite Pink Floyd. My favorite Pink Floyd is Metal.
Yeah, mine too, because
of Echoes.
it's very like, it has all those elements that I love in progressive rock. Yeah.
Echoes is my favorite Pink Floyd song ever.
Babe, isn't that the one I'm always saying? I'm always telling everybody, it's like, I wanted him to come up with, well, he wanted to start coming up with songs and writing music, right, in the beginning of the year. And he said, I want you to throw me a song that you want me not to replicate, but like that you want it in like that certain key, or
That's a tall order.
and then I was like, well, the only song I would want anyone to like recreate but in their own way is like Echoes, by Pink Floyd. And then I was like showing it to him, and I'm like, it's a long song and you love Dream Theater, so have fun. But yeah, it never happened though.
Yeah, it's that's an amazing song, just absolutely incredible. I mean, there's so many elements of it that just are moving to me, and that one never gets old. It's every time I get to the end of that song with the guitar sounds where he's just working the slide up and up and up and up, and it's got that delay on it, so it sounds like mourning corpses or ghosts that are just off in the woods, just moaning and crying, and that's the end of the song. It's like I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
That I agree. That's best. That's one of my favorite all-time songs too. See, we're so alike, Mike. We're so alike. It's awesome.
And then after Pink Floyd, we're back to King Crimson again. There's a couple of things, a couple of bands that show up here twice. But King Crimson, In the Court of the Crimson King, came out in 1969, and I didn't discover it till after I discovered, later King Crimson and Pink Floyd and Voivod. Voivod was another reason why I got turned on to Pink Floyd. But In the Court of the Crimson King, like the 21st Century Schizoid Man, for something that came out in 1969, the parts on that are just mind-blowing. Like I was like, I remember playing it after I discovered it, playing it for other people and going, listen to this is in 1969.
Yeah.
Listen to the creative drum parts and all the really specific orchestrated parts, and just how heavy it is. It was very metal for its time. But that whole album is great. So we're at let's see, 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're at number 8 on the
You're looking for a raid, babe?
Moments.
Luna?
Yeah.
Luna's like spacing out right now. I don't know.
No, I'm listening.
Oh, okay. Are you looking for someone? Because my phone died and I can't. Yeah, make sure to find somebody that needs some extra live.
I got.
Okay.
Mr. Bungle's, Mr. Bungle, the self-titled album. That one was another just. There are some albums that you hear the first few notes and you already know, oh my God, I love this, like right away. Like the first few notes of Travolta on that album, I was like, holy shit, what is this? And then I just became obsessed with Mr. Bungle for well, they're still just hugely influential and so huge for me. That album was just ridiculous. And then, yes, Close to the Edge. Again, I'm doing whole albums here because I have a tough time narrowing it down to a defining moment, because I do feel like, I like the experience of hearing a whole album, but I have a lot of, I listen to a lot of playlists, and obviously, I have to have a bit of a scattered attention span to be able to play so many different styles of music in like in the same sitting. But there are certain things where I just really want to listen to the whole thing, and Close to the Edge is one of those where man, if you listen to that whole album, it's as soon as it's over, I feel like, God, I have to start this over again. I have to listen to it again, because it's just such a moving piece. And again, it's one of my favorite drummers, so it's Bill Bruford showing up twice on this list.
Wow.
Then the 10th one would be Disco Volante, which Henrik already called that out. That's again Mr. Bungle. That was another complete game changer that threw me for a complete loop. Like the first time I heard it, I was like, "What the hell happened to my favorite band?" This is not what they sound like. I feel robbed. I was completely disappointed, and I ended up, I was drawn back to it just to hear specific little parts because they were amusing, but then it just kept drawing me in further and further until I realized what a genius piece that whole album is. That album is amazing. It's my favorite album of all time. It is literally. I mean, if I had to pick one album to be stuck on a desert island, that would be Mr. Bungle, Disco Volante. It covers so much ground and is so dynamic. I mean, it goes from the quietest quiets to the loudest louds and everywhere in between, and throws just about every genre of music you can think of at you.
And you'll always find little parts, like little intricate parts in there. You're like, I didn't hear that before. And that's why it's like you're rediscovering it with every song, because there's so much that it's crazy, but that's what's awesome about music.
And now the demos for several of the songs are available on YouTube, and you get to hear some of the like previous takes, and it is freaking hilarious. Like there's there's one part in the middle of Mamishka Mouse Squaws where Mike Patton, he's like throwing lyrics at it. He's trying to figure it out, and he's like, no, you don't do this to a fucking singer, man. This is shit. This is awful. But yeah. Okay, and then 11th album would be Secret Chiefs 3, Book M, which is, the song Vajra is off of that. That's what I opened the podcast with. was that song. That whole album is amazing, but that band is amazing. I've seen that band more than any other band, and actually they've Trace Bruins stayed at my house once after a Secret Chiefs 3 show, and we ended up my friend Carl, again, this is yet again Carl being a good influence for me. He set it up so that we could record. Well, I had some part in that because I knew a couple of the other players, and they were looking for a place to stay, and just after the show in San Diego, so we had him stay with us, and spent the next day just hanging out and talking about music, and he recorded a podcast episode for Carl King's podcast, which you can find on carlkingdom.com. So I even get a mention in there because they're recording it in my little garage studio.
That's
awesome. Oh, nice.
And that's just an incredible album. Again, that exposed me to like all the Middle Eastern styles. Not all of them, obviously, but it got me down that road where it was like, oh wow, here's a whole direction for me to check out now, and that's been a huge influence. And Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum would be the 12th one, and it's hard to pick the best from them because they were such an incredible band. But my favorite from them is an album called Inglorious Times, and it is a stupendous album, just absolutely overwhelming, both emotionally and dynamically. It's full of just incredible ideas and wild parts and instrumentation. And they made a lot of their own instruments out of various things. They're really one of the best bands that nobody's ever heard of, really. I would venture to guess that most people don't know about Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum, but it is one of the most incredible bands that I've ever been exposed to. I saw them several times, and they ended up changing. Two of the members ended up moving on, and they've now formed a band called Free Salamander Exhibit, which is in the same vein, and absolutely incredible stuff. Just mind-bending music, and really cool. And I actually ended up getting to do some music through the Immersion Composition Society. I got to do some music with one of the members of both of those bands, Michael Melender, who he's a multi-instrumentalist that is just incredibly talented. and I got to work on a couple of songs through the round robin games in there with him. That was super exciting. And then for honorable mention, I have to put in Meshuggah's Catch 33, because that is a masterpiece of metal.
Because you have to put some real metal in there, like.
Well, that's an album that I cannot just listen to part of it. You have to listen to that whole thing. It has to be taken in one sitting, or don't listen to it. And the drums are all programmed on it. It's all Thomas Hawk's sounds, but it's all programmed, and they've only been known to play just a couple of tracks off of the album, which I've gotten to see him play live. The last time I saw him was the 5th time that I saw them, and they were just that is one of the best bands to see live ever. If there's ever a chance to see Meshuggah in town, go see it. They are. It's like a controlled avalanche. I'm.
It's a perfect description.
They are so powerful and so tight, and just, I mean, it's an experience, man. It's really amazing. So that's my 12 plus 1 albums.
Amazing.
I can't tell you how stoked I am that you both had me on to do this. This is
it was so fun, Michael. You are really like a joy and an amazing person to get to know, because there's so much, and I feel like we could talk all night. Like we could just talk about music and all these different experiences, but I can't. It's one of those. I think it might have been one of the longest podcasts. I don't know how long.
Yeah, we're at about like almost 3 hours and a half.
Wow, I think you've beat a lot.
We got on a roll.
Yeah, we were vibing.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot more we can cover too, so we definitely want to have you back in the future.
I would love to.
And if you have anything you're working on, like right now, and by the end of the year, if you're gonna put out any music, I'm always telling everyone, if they're doing anything like that, let me know. Come back, we'll promote, we'll like play it.
Nice.
Bunch of fun stuff.
I have to mention again, Erlen microphones. They've been so helpful for me, especially in the last year. They've really hooked me up, and there's, I can't say enough about these microphones. They're just incredible. Especially these EHRMs, which you can't see because they're just out of camera. But man, just those microphones by themselves, you can mic a whole drum kit with them, and just with 2 microphones and have it sound just incredible. But they've been just extremely supportive over the last year, especially when we were going through tough times, and they're just all super nice people, and they make an incredible line of products. And again, I mean, you can find their work on the latest albums from Tool and Meshuggah. I mean, that says a lot about the quality of those microphones when those 2 bands have chosen you for their, what they're doing. They're an incredible company, and we're starting to see them get a lot more exposure around North America. But anyway.
Well, if you ever come to New York City, you guys know, just hit me up and let me know. We'll do something fun or go to a show. Hopefully things are starting to open up now. So if you travel, you got friends here on the East Coast.
Awesome.
And if we go to TwitchCon, I hope that you go to TwitchCon next year if it happens.
Yeah, if it happens, I'm there, because there's so many people that I want to meet now that I've only met through this portal, and just amazing people, just wonderful players. And again, I can't say enough about the positivity in this community. It was something that I really needed myself, with losing all the gigging work and feeling like, holy shit, how are we going to restart this? And is it ever going to be normal again? And now it's like I've found, well, hey, even if it's not how it used to be, now there's a whole different avenue that we can explore and help blossom and turn into something. It's amazing to see that there's people that are actually making a living doing this. So it's really, not only did it give me just positive vibes all the way around, it gave me, a window into other avenues to continue my passion. And Yeah, it's just amazing. And what you're doing by featuring all of us on the podcast is just helping to really build that positive community image, and I can't thank you enough for it. It's amazing.
The pleasure was all mine, and I know Luna. I know he's learned a lot today in like just everything, and I think we're all gonna benefit from rewatching this VOD because, like, I think 40 said he's gonna watch this like 50 times.
He's got a lot of notes to take down. He said.
Yes, yes. I want
Flattered.
to thank everyone that came in. Debbie, thanks for still being here.
Yeah.
Benny,
Debbie, QT drummer, bad boy
thank you
suit.
so much, sis, for the 100 pennies. Max A drums.
Maxa, nice.
Yeah, he's been
Love it,
lurking in
man.
here. Ray
Hooray.
came in at the end, but I know he's gonna catch up.
Like
later on.
all my favorite streamers are here. This is awesome.
That's the thing. All of us hang out in
Yeah.
each other's
Jeremy.
streams. Jeremy.
Nice. That's all the chats on this little tiny screen over here. That's why I haven't been responding to everybody. No, you're awesome, Maxa.
Yeah, Max
Man.
is gonna be doing a takeover travel. We're gonna go to Sweden, and it's gonna be
Nice.
awesome. Yes, and
I'm looking
next
forward
week,
to that.
I can't believe it. Next week we're gonna do so many different things. And hopefully we'll see something happen with the streams. You know, they're gonna change up. They're gonna be better. And yeah, and this guy's gonna be in New York City. Yes.
All in one spot. Less challenges for our computers, and it'd be a lot easier to set up and just hit play and go.
Finally.
Yeah.
Finally, he's gonna be out of Jersey, and he's gonna become a New Yorker. So I'm excited.
Nice.
So guys,
Well,
where are we gonna go
congratulations.
raid? I hope.
I got someone.
All right, let's go show some love to the next guy. Michael, you're beautiful, you're amazing, you're super skillful, talented, and I just think you're an extraordinary person, and I'm so honored that I got to put you on the podcast because you were definitely
I'm
one.
honored.
You're amazing, and I can't wait to see more of your streams.
Don't go yet. Once we shut down, we're gonna
No worries.
talk a little bit after stream.
Got it.
Alrighty.
I'm here. Who are we reading?
It's a surprise.
Fine.
Anyone that needs extra love, let's go give them and hype it up in chat, and put a command in there too. With my heart,
Oh yeah.
my
So here,
hearts.
read. Copy that.
Or like if you're a sub, do the hearts and the rockstar and stuff. I gotta make one. That's something I gotta.
Yeah, we gotta update our new one.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I love everyone, and you guys are amazing too. Being here and having the channel be what it is, it's all because of you guys too, supporting each other, being good to one another. So I send you so much love. Good night, everyone. I'll see you in the next stream. Don't be
Thanks,
a big
everybody.
one. Hi, Michael. So much love.
That was amazing.